Welcome, guys, to this little bit of a town hall on Han Solo. With Yukuno Jr., we decided to kind of talk a little bit deeper on what was happening in our mind when we built the list and what were the ideas, especially the Six Coast and Fizz Nest. And Junior just dropped the list without saying anything, so we decided a bit last minute to do something a little more qualitative with this presentation. So shortly, we're gonna talk about why we were interested in the deck, what we avoided, as opposed to a regular and solo yellow kind of list, and we kind of decided to divide this presentation. And I keep saying presentation, but it's more of a discussion between three parts. First, at the time we built the list, there was kind of this hyper dominance of the Tarkington decklist. We saw the Cad Banes, we saw the early performances of Jango as well, and of course the hyped or overhyped Quinlan. Our main focus was on Tarkington, and then as we expected Anne to be the best deck, we worked a lot on the mirror, and we expected a lot of Anne solo. And then part 3, the rest of the meta, including ECL, Sabine, including Bosk Blue, Anakin Blue as well. And a little bit of our conclusion post PQ, and yeah, on this section, feel free to ask anything and give also your conclusion post PQ. It's really interesting, really. From my perspective, mainly what I saw in Han Solo is the potential of just snowballing the early game out of control, and the ability to be one resource ahead for the whole game if you wanted to, was, well, a little bit too OP for this format, for this early game that is Star Wars Unlimited. Well, we truly believe it was the best deck, mostly because of the fact that you can be really, really early and play things you're not supposed to on the early games. Also, following this idea, you have, well, one of the best flip turn in the game, when you can turn 4 go up to 7 resources, and not only play a 7 cost, but play a 4 cost and a 3 cost, and just be ahead. But then again, not only being ahead on the first 4 turn, but maintaining advantages thanks to really tempo heavy cards such as Cunning, which reminded me a lot of Cryptic Command coming from Magic the Gathering. And then not only that, the grinding in the late stages of the game, meaning that we can still maintain pressure, we can still have a good quality of units even in the late stages, and contest even the hard control decks. Coming in this very new meta at the very beginning of set 3, we expected a lot of the old decks, mostly we expected Sabine, and well, the matchup wasn't really solved at that time, and we were very, very favorable into Sabine, and mostly because of the fact that the Sabine players weren't really prepared for Han Solo, or didn't have the right heuristics, like being the control, playing Heroic Sacrifice and Fleet Lieutenant to suicide your Sabine into the 3-5, making you ahead in the long terms. That was our first expectation. Bosk Blue as well, but Bosk Blue, we had a very good matchup going into set 3 into Bosk Blue. So yeah, we expected those two main decks to dominate the early meta, and then the hype of Tarkington of both Jango, Cad Bane, and Quinlan dominating the early scene. We saw Jango with John Tata. We saw Quinlan Red with Tarkington with Mikey D. I believe he won some tournament even before the PQ, if I'm right. I'm not sure about that, but I'm pretty sure I saw a lot of, well, Quinlan popping up here and there. We also had the GL Night Gaming video that he made, and it rose a lot of hype. And then yeah, we saw the first event, and then again Sabine performing, Bosk as well, with Thorkk. some hands here and there, but not at the rate we see right now, at a very small percentage, as some Jango and some Quinlan as well. A little bit more into our list. What do I call the 180, 60, and 50 strategy? When we build our list, and then I can link you back to a video from Troy Yamaguchi. I believe his YouTube name is +2. He talks a lot about critical deck building, and that's what we did set 2, and that's what we wanted to do at the very beginning of set 3. Thanks to a very small card pool, we can just see what every option we have, and well, go from there, see what are the packages we want to play, and then cut down to a list of 50 cards. We had some constraints going into this set, especially with the Tarkington influences. And so we came to the conclusion that the X4 were mostly prohibited unless they were very broken. So mostly we played Falcon, which is an X4, and Ezra in some situation. Because of how we had seen the meta, we expected a lot of Tarkington, and then we didn't want to play a lot of X4. And then a little bit of a heated debate on C3PO. C3PO, of course, the card is wonderful. The card draws you a lot. Also, it can win you a game you're not supposed to win. It's hard to deal with for control, sure. But then again, we didn't play the Rebel version because we had Tarkington in mind. And if you don't play the Rebel version, even if we have free set already, I don't think the card quality of the free costs is really that good, honestly. And you have to play not the best card, because then again we are in a mono yellow setting. So C3PO was a no for us. There was a little bit of a history C3PO where we, in the very early testing, we decided to play it in the sideboard, and for example bring into the Han Solo matchup alongside Spare the Target, which acted as a 4th and 5th waylays to up the count of the free cost. And well, we even decided to play Ezra Bridger at the same time to up the free cost. But then again, it was very heavy in the side and for matchup that were already favorable.
Yes.
So we really wanted to play a lot of cards to make favorable matchup even more favorable. We wanted to work on what we expected to be harder, the yellow mid-rangey tempo list. Yeah, I see the George Yule comment. Loopee, KTOD, Matty, and Mikey were all hyping Quinlan TT before PQs. Yeah, really. So, but you'll see a little bit later in this presentation that it was really a hype really located in the US and in Europe. We didn't see a lot of Quinlan, at least in the very beginning of the season. But then we saw the performances at the event, and then we saw a little bit more of Quinlan's. A little bit about the late game threats. So we didn't want it to be a Western Green. We wanted to maintain that tempo is primarily aggro control, and you have to maintain this this aggro theme, and you don't want to have cards that just stick in your hand over and over, because you don't even have to have high cost units, because you can just grind out. You can buff your unit with Ultra Blaster. You can grind out with Tech. We didn't have room, and I believe the only 7 cost we really played was the Han Solo unit. We hesitated a lot on Enfys Nest, the 7 cost Enfys Nest, because while it can be really powerful in the situation where you are able to play a 7 cost without any interruption, it ends up being really awkward if you are facing a matchup where you don't really have the liberty to have a good flip turn. If you play against Jango, if you play against Quinlan or whatever, you often have an opponent that has a way where, whether it be no good to me dead, whether it be pillages, that allows him to interact with your flip turn, and the Enfys Nest has to come later. But if the Enfys Nest comes later, well, it's not that good because it only bounces the 4 power units. So yeah, we're a little bit mitigated on this one. A little bit of our methodology of what's going on about the approach we had. The first question we ask ourselves, that is very common in TCGs, is what's our role? What does it mean? In a 1v1 situation, you both can't have the same role. The roles can switch at some point in the game, but you can have the same role. What are the roles, you say? Well, we listed two roles, and depends. The first role is going above. It means assuming you have a better quality of cards than your opponent, and you're favored if you go into the later stages of the game, and you can mitigate the aggression with, well, better card quality. You want to make favorable trade, you want to control the units your opponent play, you want to strip them out of resources, and then do the finishing blow, focus on preventing your opponent their power plays. And then we have the second role, which is going under. Going under means you assume that your card quality is worse than your opponent's, and you assume that if the game goes longer, you're going to lose whatever happens. So we want to race as much as possible. We want to play a lot of units really fast, and we want to not really focus on the trades unless it is, well, it is a game-winning trade. Then we'll see a bit of a strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threat analysis shaped to be comprehensible into the world of SWU, and then a little bit of a reflection. On the sideboard is our list. And we'll go into detail on why we decided to play each and every card. Of course, you can see the the Jar Jar Binks. It was the sole reason you couldn't decided to play it. If Junior, you want to introduce a little bit about Jar Jar.
That's meme card, and like in the Cabal, they said, if I want to pick you with Jar Jar, I am the Dark Lord of the Cabal, so I take Jar Jar.
That's a valid reason for me. Our first matchup is going to be Quinlan Tarkington. I put Mikey D because we worked with our gauntlets with the Mikey D list, and we will first look at the Force package version, and as opposed to the Rebel version coming from L Knight, from Loopee, I believe, or KTOD as well. We decided that our role was going to be not the beat down, but the control. We decided that we wanted to go above. We wanted to play safe and make favorable trades, make him use Tarkington early, but in the most efficient way for us as possible. Play around the fact that we have 5 more HP, and if we can make him, well, waste Tarkington, it's as if we had make him lose 5 HP on the spot.
Yeah, I think the key in this matchup is to try to not be behind on the board after Tarkington. That's why I like card like Ozitook in this matchup, because I can ambush, and like if Tarkington, that's okay. Like the board is even, and I also think that's why we picked good stuff version, because like Rebel version is not the best into Tarkington deck because they don't play that much 5 HP card. So yeah, I think that was very cool.
Yeah, I agree. The problem in the Rebel strategy is that often your early plays aren't only the early plays, but are also the enablers of your strategy, of your payoffs. you are very ahead if you turn 1 survives and you can play Wing Leader on it or Lieutenant. But then again, it's your enabler and your card quality become even worse if your turn 1 gets destroyed. What were the cards most relevant into the matchup? First off, the 3/5s. The 3/5s as a 3 cost. It makes a really awkward situation for the Quinlan TT player, as he can't really ping them. He kinda has to play around them. He can't really go to space because we have the threat of Falcon, so he has to go ground. If he goes ground, we play a 3/5, and we kind of force him to use the Tarkington early. Him to do that. We want him to have kind of this idea that he will be winning in the long term if he trades into our units plus Tarkington. But then again, we think we have better card quality, especially if we can pull off Kira a little bit earlier than our opponents, whether it be ramping plus Kira or claiming plus Kira.
Yeah. Some key line in this matchup is like you really need to play around the Spark, and like if you need to play around Spark turn 1. So I think what I do in the mashup is if I have the initiative, I pass turn 1, and if they spark me, even if I have like 2 turn 1, 2/3 drop to play, I claim the initiative because I can like be punished really hard if I ramp into my 3/5. If you throw like a lot of force throw, a lot of discard, and I can lose the game on this.
Or pillages, there are a lot of situations where after Spark, if you play something, you are behind, and often, if they spark you, you can just claim and then ramp and play Kira, and then you're well ahead in this game.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good line. And like if they claim, like that would be harder for them to have a coordinate Pokemon.
Yeah, you have to. Well, we'll talk a little bit later about Plo Koon and the threats in the following slide. But it's very important for us to clean the board in the first 3 turn. So following this idea of cleaning the board, we have Enfys Nest. Why Enfys Nest over Plo Koon? Well, because we don't really expect to often have coordinate, even though Plo Koon can be played at the same turn as hand deploys. Enfys Nest has this very neat ability to clear kind of everything in Quinlan except the Han Solo unit and the Quinlan unit.
Yeah, and you can
without taking damage. Yeah.
Yeah, and like if you beat, you almost can't be punished by flipping Han, unless I have a force throw into a 6 drop, because like even if they Plo Koon, I can Enfys back, and now say I have Quinlan 3/7, I have my board, and I have a 5/4, so that's still okay. If they still price strike, that's still good. I can kill Quinlan, have a 5/4. I think like this is super good into this matchup.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. And the fact that you end up with more unit than your opponent is behind. He doesn't have a lot of ways to deal with your new Enfys Nest, and you're just well ahead on the flip turn mostly. And even if it's not on the flip turn, but in the later stages of the game, still very good. You can clear a lot of stuff. And then the fourth, the fourth item in the most relevant card we had are the smuggle. Of course, the Quinlan plays a lot of these cards. He plays Force Row, he plays Pillage, he plays Spark, he plays even Kira. The fact that we can force him to play Kira and name DJ because he feels that he will be well behind. We have so many options on our flip turns, not only on the flip turns, but mostly on the flip turns. And we can, just overwhelming him. And even if he names something annoying for us, with Kira, we still have a lot of options, and Kira is not that good against us. Well, it can be annoying for sure. And well, Zoribris also have this other neat factor of being 4/7, 4/5, meaning we can play it on turn 3. And unless the Quinlan plays Waylay, which we did not see a lot of Waylays in the Quinland, from my experience, it can be very good.
So, I don't know, Derek, say, what if they pillage you on the flip turn? I think if they pillage me and I have like an Amphi's Nest in my resource, I'm still good. They have done like nothing, they haven't developed a board, and I have like my 4/7 plus my leader. I think I'm still okay with it. And like, you can still play around PH, right? You can.
Yeah. We have lots of options already, and believe it or not, you can take a Quinlan by surprise if you have the ability to make him waste his starting turn on your first unit. You can even do the tech DJ combo. It does not have a lot of options really, and you can punish him heavily. And the fact that he knows the combo is punishing for him, he kind of has to kill a tech on side and waste a lot of resources to basically do nothing. And we want him to do that. We want to go in the late game against Quinlan because we are well favored. If we don't have any question, we can go on the.
Did you see the question about pillage?
Yeah.
Did you already ask it? I was away for a minute.
Junior answered the question.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I could claim that even if your opponent plays an early pillage, if you still have one card in hand, doesn't matter the card quality you have in hand, just resource it with an ability, and you'll be way ahead. It really depends on when your opponent plays the pillage, because you kind of have to do the math between you activating hand, you playing smuggle, and your opponent playing discards. So pillage is not always very relevant, and it can be devastating for sure, but it's not always impressive, and we still always have a lot of backups. So then the threats, what can be really annoying for us / make us lose the game. First off, we highlighted the ambush units, and the main threat is Plo Koon. You don't often have the luxury to deal with your opponent's unit, and you gotta play around Plo Koon, whether or not he has it. Until he hasn't played any cards on his flip turn, you can't deploy. You have to respect Plo Koon, unless you have the Gamorrean guards on the board. You have to respect Plo Koon. Plo Koon is really devastating, and it's just card advantage. It's card advantage because he deals with your leader, and he still has his card on the board. You just gotta play the matchup with Plo Koon in mind always. Same goes with Kira. Kira turn 3 can also be annoying.
I think if you pass turn 1, that's great to bounce Kira. Like this, you can get to like a board clean on the flip turn. Here, you can like surprise strike Quinlan, have an Enfys, and I think it's great. So I really like bounces this matchup.
Yeah, me too.
I have a question then.
And
what do you want to play on turn 2 then? Because are you wanting to play something that's not a 3-drop to avoid the Quinlan ping?
Not necessarily. You can accept the Quinlan ping, because most of the time you play 5 elf units. You can play 4 cost 5 elf units like Kira. You can play any 3 cost units. You can even resource with N and then play a smuggle if you have a tech or if you have 2/2 shielded.
And there's a good question in chat. If you win the initiative roll, do you want to give them initiative to start?
Yes. Yes, you want.
Yeah. Yes, you want.
And also, if you talk about turn 1, I think the worst turn 1s they can have is Sabine Vren or Awing. So that's the worst, because Sabine Vren allow you, as I say, to not be behind after they target down your unit, because you trade up into Sabine and then they target down. So that's great for you. And Awing just don't interact with your board, so I think you need to interact with Anne as Quinlan.
Yeah, there is a common misconception that the best turn 1 against Anne is Grogu. Honestly, Grogu doesn't do anything, and especially if we want grind, if we want to take into consideration the card advantage, Grogu doesn't do a lot of stuff, because you can often early claim, you can Orchard Blaster 3/5 to get rid of a Grogu. And if he plays a Grogu, you're pretty sure your 3/5 you play turn 1 is safe, and then you can safely play something else. So yeah, the most annoying turn 1 he can play is Sabine most of the time. And A-Wing honestly is not that bad, because then again you could have a Falcon. If you don't have a Falcon, it's okay, because he's not contesting your board. And even if A-Wing gets to leave, we can do anything we want on the ground. And it's very important to clear the ground, not only because of the coordinate of Cocoon, but because we have to respect the Orchard Blaster or the Surprise Tark.
If they play A-Wing and you have a Falcon, you kill A-Wing, but then you need to pay for the Falcon. You don't, because you ramp. But they really need to target on it, because then again you are not behind after target on. So that's great. If they have Falcon, that's okay for them.
I was answering Anomaron Dick's question. A-Wing, if you clear Falcon and accept TT, right? Yeah. You are favored if they play Tarkington turn 1, because if they have an A-Wing and you have a Falcon and they pass, and you go with your Falcon into the A-Wing and then they Tarkington, you are favored. What could be a correct play for Quinlan would be to play and then wait if the players wants to keep the Falcon, and then maybe Tarkington. But if the Quinlan Tarkingtons the Falcon turn 1, you are favored, yes. They just lost 5 basically.
So, but if they have Falcon, that's okay for them. But that's still good for us, but that's not that bad for them.
You mean if they play a Falcon turn 2?
Yes.
Yeah, if they play a Falcon turn 2, you are more or less assured that they won't play a forecast on turn 3. You won't see a Kira, you won't see a PDH. Yeah, you're okay with a Falcon turn 2. You just gotta make sure that your life total isn't that low. A bit of what we thought was the correct play for the sideboard. So following our idea that we want to make sure the game gets to a later stage, we included the Big Falcon, and also as a way to counter the discard. 3 Amphi's Nest, as we talked about, to do the favorable trade, and the trick as well to kind of bait.
No, that's like for what I said, like for not behind after Tarkington.
Yeah, and then we decided to side out the L337, even though they have a shield. Well, they don't do a lot of stuff, and they are really good if you have Orchard Blaster. If you don't have Orchard Blaster, which is already a really good card, they aren't that great. And well, we also remove the Archer Blaster, one Archer Blaster, because it's a tool to get aggressive. That's not necessarily what we want to do. And 2 Gamos, well, because he played Tarkington. Then again, yeah, we want him to use Tarkington early, but if he knows we want them to use Tarkington early, he will delay the use of his epic action.
Did you have Azatec in your sideboard?
Yeah, I had 2 Azatec in
I
my
don't.
sideboard.
I swap it for Jaja.
Yeah.
That was in
you're
cheap
right.
list.
Junior was trolling, but yeah, I had 2 Azatec in the sideboard to mostly respect Quinlan and Jango. Yeah, we decided to have a little slide on the Quinlan Tarkington Rebel because we did not see a lot of Quinlan Tarkington Rebel. There was a lot of hype. Yeah, yet again coming from L-Knight Gaming. And we wanted to take into consideration what could happen against this list, but I didn't see any in my tournaments. I don't think Junior saw any as well. But we wrote some insight. What's our role? Same role, going above, playing safe, and making favorable trades.
We wanted to race against him and like play it a little bit like the Sabine matchup, but we don't trade up turn 1 because they have Tarkington. So yeah, that was how we played the matchup. How we wanted to play it.
Yeah, but we weren't really worried about the Rebel version. Well, the first thing we wanted to do in the early stages of a Quinlan matchup was to analyze if we were indeed playing against a Force or a Rebel version. And then we would adapt our strategy because we saw a lot of focus Belvin. But then again, we saw the Rebel package, and the Rebel package can be heavily punished by a bounce effect. So
the way to recognize that you are playing against the Rebel version is 2G to Junior, so Rebel or anywhere package. Focus I believe in, and like a low curve. The top curve is at 4 or plus pro, nothing above that.
Yeah. We also had a little bit of a concern about Bamboozle. We saw Bamboozle main deck, I believe, from this list. We saw at the very beginning of set 3 once again. We saw a little of Bamboozle, and Bamboozle was really devastating for a game plan. But I didn't see any Bamboozle in my experience, even though the card is really, really cool. Cad Bane. Against Cad Bane, we saw different kinds of playline. We saw different kinds of players. It wasn't the easiest matchup to prepare, honestly, because a lot of players had different way to manage the matchup. But we recognized that most of the time, DJ was key. DJ was key because his leader deploys on 6, and if we can prevent him from deploying while we are very well ahead. We wanted to add Enfys Nest as well, because even though we want to go under, and I'll go a little bit later as to why, Enfys Nest just makes favorable trade until late in the game, until the 6th turn. Basically.
So you want to like have a clear board before you flip turn, so bounce is great. You want to be sure they don't have like, you want to disrupt, no good to be dead, and you need to be careful about moves out of them.
It's spoiling the next slide, but yeah, that's what we are going to see in the next slide. We can be really punished by some cards, so we kind of have to have specific cards in the starting ends. We can mulligan into Waylay or Conceal Monster. Is correct, especially if we play against a seasoned Cad Bane player. It is correct, unless you have a really good hand to mulligan into your outs. And what are your odds? Your odds are also the space presence, especially when he has already used Tarkington, you can really go out into space because it does have a lot of ways to get rid of your space presence. That's why we have Falcon, we have the 2 Falcon. I believe I also sided in my Ozituk, but we'll see that later. And well, around the fact that you have 30 HP and you have surprise tracks and you have cunning. Cad Bane, we really have to consider the threats before speaking about anything else. And there are multiple threats. The main threat, of course, is no good to me dead. Not only on the hand leader, but mostly on the hand leader. Mostly it's 2 mana removal. That's what it does for us. It allows him to go late in the game, and late in the game he has more options than us. If we don't have a lot of units on the board, his Cad Bane ability is really, really good. We don't have a lot of ways to deal with his leader because it goes to 8, plus if he has any kind of boost like a Natural Blaster or whatever, it becomes a real pain. For Lom as well, it ambushes for 4, but then again with Cad Bane it goes up to 5. He has 4 health, so he can survive going into the 3/5s, into Kira, into DJ, into Liberated Slave, into Tech, whatever. And that's really annoying because not only does he slow the speed of the game, but also it prevents us from playing stuff. And Junior talked about our main priority was for us to clear all of his units on the flip turn, is because he has a lot of ways to boost his units and get rid
Before
of
the
our
flip
units.
before the flip turn.
Yeah, before the flip turn, yeah. Also, 2 other main threats being Bazine, and now there are 2 of them. Do you want to talk about Bazine, Junior?
So Basin can be cool because like you can keep a body rook and like you they can't move out of them. So what I do is I keep a body rook against a Cad Bane, and I think Basin's not for us. I think the worst one they can have he's probably Crafty Smuggler.
Yeah.
He's really annoying because you can't attack with your 3/5 until they attack with Crafty. Because if you attack, they just go into your 3/5 and Dark Town, and that's really bad for us. So what you need to do is like if they attack in your 3/5, you need to go into Crafty, and then they will kill our 3/5 with the ping, and then you play another 3/5, but you just don't want to attack before they attack with Crafty.
Yeah, you can diverge from the initial question, but yeah, Crafty is also paid to get rid of. But one interrogation we had going into the matchup was what is the Cad Bane expectation with a Sabine? What does he want to get rid of? What does he want to play afterwards? Or those Cad player with a Bazine and that also have another 2 of them. What are the cards in your hand that he wants to remove? What are his main targets? Does he only want you to not have a turn 1? Does he remove any waylays? Does he remove a body rook? We talk a lot about it, and well, most of the time you kind of have to have at least 2 different answers to another 2 of them play. Of course, you can claim and draw. That's the ultimate the ultimate decision. But what are the solutions against another 2 of them? It could be body rook. If they play a Bazine, you can then resource and play body rook. It can be, yes, a waylay, but you want to wait for them to first play Node out of them and then Waylay, of course.
Another 3-5 can be good. You just need to not be too much behind.
Yeah, but you are behind. If you play a 3-5 and your opponent still has a BIATL on the board and they play Node out two of them because they're ping with Cad Bane.
Yeah, but you can still come back if you trade into the Northern 2000 unit.
But the thing is, you won't be able to trade into it unless you have a surprise strike or you have a Shot Blaster. But you're behind on
like say boss, and then you play your 3-5. And then if they have fallen, you just drop the game. But you don't have that many answer.
Yeah, Fallen is really annoying, and there are two kinds of games: the games where your opponent can spam forlums, and the game where he doesn't find any forlums. At least from our experience.
But happily, Yodakiller is not playing Northern of them anymore. So no cat player is playing Northern of them anymore.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about what we want to do on our flip turn? What is
play TG if you are able to. Try to really bounce if they play. Like if you want to go to 7 against Cad. But if you can, the bouncer is great. Unfist Nest into a farm can be great too. I mean, it really depends on the board, right? And what you have in hand and what your opponent have in hand.
Yeah, I agree, and at some points we had the discussion on whether it was good or not to go space with the Falcon, the 6-card Falcon. Well, it really depends. It depends on the list we are facing. It's way easier if you are in an open deck list kind of a situation.
Now we can talk about Sideboard and then Yodakiller come talk about the matchup.
Yeah, we decided to bring in the third Falcon. I'm sorry, I wrote it in French. The third Falcon then, and the 3 Enfys as well. To even if we want to be the bit done, we still want to do favorable trades. And out
so
L337.
I think there was a moment where we keep one crafty smuggler or one crafty droid because we cut something else. No, I believe we bring in only 2 Enfys Nest for have still one crafty droid for be able to control Cad Bane units. At one moment.
Yeah. But then again, L337, if you don't have any boost, any pump like Super Strike or Shot Blaster, it's really not the best card in the game.
Frank, can you make Yodakiller come on the stage?
Carlos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, great job so far. Fantastic
job. Welcome, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just quickly want to just touch upon that in the beginning, before Han started putting 3-5s, like a lot of 3-5s. Yeah, it was like an easier matchup for Cad, but I think Han has done a really, really good job of adjusting to Tarkentown. And on the flip side, right, Cad players also have to adjust too. So I've moved away from now there are 2 of them because I found out just you get quickly punished by Waylay, and there's also a lot more Tarkentown decks, and then also of course more Fel and more Takedown. But like as a Cad player, definitely Bazine for me. I like to give initiative to the Han player. I like for them to wait for them to use and activate Han, and then I play Bazine and wait for an opportunity for me to try to get you to at least see if you don't have 2 turn 1 plays. Because if you don't, then I'll just take the one that you were going to play. And then I started to adjust a little bit and started to run Jetpack. so I can have an extra shield to protect from your Han or your ambush units. So, and also if I've already used Tarkin Town, I need the shield to protect in order for me to take down your DJ. So, like on your flip turn, the most important thing for a CAD player is to prevent the DJ at all costs. Either kill Han when he flips, or wait and don't use my Tarkin Town. And if you have the DJ, I need to kill it like immediately, because if not, I'm too far behind. Because CAD is a slow leader, and it's 6 to deploy. You're just too fast in order for you to initiate your game plan. And of course, you run too many X5s, and that's a lot of stats for CAD. So it makes it harder in the late game to be able to like play CAD unit and try to maximize my turn and to try to take your units. But because you started running, what's the one that draws the card? The one that when it attacks?
3PU?
No. 4/7. Smuggle.
You're talking about Zori
Oh,
Bliss.
sorry.
Yeah, that card. Another difficult unit to deal with. It's just a lot of stats for CAD.
Yeah, it's good as like if you play on to ramp into Zori Bliss from your end before the flip turn, because you can't deal with it unless you waylay. So yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, I agree. So 7.5 is a lot for this game, especially turn 3. Any more question before we go to the next matchup?
I'll throw it out there. So you mentioned you like Bodhi Rook on turn 1 versus CAD, which seems crazy to me.
No. If they play Bazin, I like the body rook.
They play Bazin.
Oh, okay.
After Bazin.
Carry on. So I am very, very picky with how I play Bodhi Rook, and that fascinated me. All right, that makes sense. All right, bye.
Yeah, we don't.
This
really
guy
see
wants to
body
cut body rook from the
Yeah.
50.
So that's why I'm bringing an argument.
I don't believe in sacred cows. It was a thought. I don't think it's correct. I think the situations where Bodhi Rook is correct, he wins the game. But I'm very picky with him. Anyway.
Well, my answer will be that the Body Rook isn't really a unit. It's mostly an event that comes with a unit, and you want to use it as a piece of 8 more than just board state.
Agreed, and it's also really good when you do Spark of Rebellion plus Bodhi Rook or Kira, and the following turn you do a Bodhi Rook into a flip turn. Like there's sequences where you're like basically guaranteed to hit, but like I don't like I hope my opponent's bad and didn't resource properly. Maybe my Bodhi Rook can scam him. That's a play line I'll always avoid.
I mean, Body Rook is more to avoid a card than just disrupt. Like, if I play Body Rook against a deck that play ramp, that makes them have no supply, not to just discard a card from their end, right? If there are resource resupply for respect Body Rook, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, of course. Your opponent doesn't have a lot of ways to play around Body Rook. He kinda just have to, just get destroyed by it. And if his solution is to resource the power plays he had in mind because of Body Rook, then we're just winning at this point.
Exactly. Yep. I think there's value in having him, but like, what if we're talking about like boss green? Like obviously you play Bodhi Rook because it hits like a ton of stuff, right? It hits not just resupply, it hits open fire, it hits price of their hand, all that good stuff. But against Han Green, are you happy to turn 1 Bodhi Rook?
Yeah, that's a key card in the matchup.
If you have the initiative, yeah.
If you have the initiative, it's the only time that works. Yeah. I was gonna say I think that's great.
No, Jan is passing before ramping because he's respecting Spark of Rebellion. So he passed before, so Body Rook is still good in this spot.
Yeah, but what about the average? What about the average and green?
Wait, we're talking about we're getting a totally different matchup. So I will. Carry on.
And green was not a thing when we begin to do those matchup, right?
Yeah. We played it here and there, but then again, you had some influencers, Thorkk, who said that end green was not even playable in this meta, so we didn't bother to work on the to work on the matchup really. We knew how to navigate it from set 2 and from our experience, and there were a lot of changes from set 2, at least on how we play the matchup. So we didn't work a lot on the end green, to be honest. Jango. We had a debate on our team on what was the correct role. And at first, myself included, we played the matchup as if we were the control. And on the surface, that was correct. Because he has a lot of way to disrupt us.
What?
Yeah. At first, at the very beginning, then we changed. But at the very beginning, we played the matchup as if we were the control. He has a lot of way to exhaust our units. He can just suicide any little one drop and disrupt our flip turn. He has exhaust effect. He has no good to me deads. He has the P38 that are just able to time walk us if we don't play that good. And he has the triple dark raid that are some kind of reach and just makes him want to get the Restless Raider, exhaust our stuff, and then continues aggressing. So at first, we thought the correct way to preserve our life total was to be the control. But then we realized that we played 3/5 units, and we just really can aggro. And if Jango has to play the control, most of the time he loses, or at least he loses resources, he loses tempo to do it, and we are favored. So basically, we just want to threaten him and make him want to get rid of our units. What else can I say? Yeah, our main idea was to first have a presence in both arenas, and then disrupt his flip, because his flip can be really devastating. So presence in the ground, we have the 3/5s, and presence in space, we had Falcon, we had the 2 Falcons, we also had the Ausiduk that we could bring in, at least I could bring in. And then the flip turn, we wanted to respect some of the cards we'll see on the following slide, including Triple Dark Raid and Vambrace Flamethrower that are really devastating for the match.
No, you respect triple dark raid the turn before the flip turn.
Yeah, of course. And so I could have added the body rock on the slide as well. Yeah. Do you want to talk about when we want the opponent to use the Tarkington? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
So,
generally, it's after you attack with a unit, right? That's the goal. You want to put in a nice juicy target. So that way, if your opponent plays like, so basically, you get your attack off. Junior mentioned it earlier with the Azatuk. You could do it with Falcon, but like that's you want to make a bad Jango player go, oh sweet, there's a target, I can hit it, do the thing now. If they're patient, they have like a million ways to use target town in this matchup. They can do Daring Raid, they can do TDR into Ruthless Raider, and then you finish off a 3/5 with the target town by itself. Yeah, sorry, I noticed the stall, so I just wanted to help out.
No,
so Restless Raider, if they triple dark raid into Restless Raider into target town, that's not the worst. The worst is like if they have Crafty, we play a 3/5. We play 3/5. They have Crafty. That say attack and then touch up. That's like you want to make them use touch on after you value trade into their unit. That's really the goal of this matchup. We are talking of the version, but like KTOD version, not the new version with all those one drop. This version was not here before.
Yeah, but we were kinda anticipating the at the time there were already the 3/5s, the 3/1 the Greedo and the Star Stormtrooper. Because now, yeah, the two prices play the 2/1 that bounce back an upgrade and the 2/1 that can be smuggled. Of course, they weren't played back then, but we had still in mind the threat of just your opponent playing a 3/1. We could play anything, and then they would play an ISB agent and then ping your Starkington.
So, but that board games, the issue with Crafty Smuggler against us is we want to play 3/5 on turn 1, but if they have Crafty Smuggler, they can attack in 3/5, tap it, so we can't value trade into Crafty Smuggler, and then attack turn, so that's really annoying for them. And
yeah, and as I wrote a little bit of the threats in this matchup, we have four main issues. The first is them going wide and solo, unless we draw the cunning or any kind of tempo tools. We do struggle against deck that can go wide and then punish us from going wide with just suiciding any one drop to prevent us our flip turn from being really good. And that's kind of why we were not really fond of Enfys Nest 7 cost. Because I see a lot of comments that Enfys Nest is really good into Jango. Yes, it's really good if you can pull it off as a 7 drop, and the Jango, well, just allowed it.
yeah, and at this point of the game, you don't want to play 7 drop, you want to play a lot of like Falcon, Pump, stuff like this. And so if they play Crafty, the plan you have 2 lines, but the 2 are risky. So the first one is to play your 2/2, but then you get punished by Pisser Cheat. See, and what's his name? ISB Agent.
SB agent.
And even Criminal Muscle, right, with some list. The other line is to play Falcon. So Falcon is better than Crafty.
Go ahead.
So Falcon, if they play P38, they still waste Dark Time into Falcon. Where if they play P38 and the 2/2 shielded, you can just take a free trade and still have Dark Time. So if you play Falcon and then we have 3 more damage, if they don't have the P38, I think that might be better than the Crafty, the 2/2, because you're just faster.
Yeah. Also, there was kind of this question that we had, that if the opponent starts with a 2-drop in space and we have a Falcon, do we play the Falcon and do we trade with the Falcon into the 2-drop? If they well, it really depends on what kind of 2-drop they play. If they play a 2-drop that only attacks for 2, mostly being the Cartel Spacer, I don't think there are any other in space on turn 2. We want to use Falcon and favorably trade, but if they have any 2-drop in space that attacks for 3, we don't want Falcon to go into. Well, we don't even want to play Falcon, because it's not a matter of them using Tarkington on the Falcon and just having presence again in space. If the Falcon is at 1 life, they have so many pings effect that they would just play a P38 and still have the Tarkington for the later plays. But you could argue that if they use Tarkington on your first card of the game, you could develop a board state. But the most important turn in this match is mostly the turn 4, and that's what really matters. So you want to be well favored entering the turn 4, and while using your Falcon and them still having Tarkington is really horrendous. Speaking of horrendous, we talked about them going wide. We talked about Crafty Smuggler. We talked a little bit about Triple Dark Raid, but we could go a little bit beyond. It's also a toolbox. A toolbox is a term we use mostly in Magic the Gathering to talk about a deck that can, with the help of some cards, do kind of everything, and especially what is needed in the situation. And that's what we see with Triple Dark Raid. So yeah, Triple Dark Raid is really annoying in any stages of the game, and we want to get rid of it as fast as possible, but not as fast as the Vambrace Flamethrower. We don't see a lot of lists playing Vambrace Flamethrower, but in our testing that was really devastating, because not only does the Jango leader becomes a 4/8, it also can deal it also can reduce to 0 our clock and get rid of any units because it attacks for 7, if my math is right. And it's really horrendous for us. Luckily, we didn't see any Vambrace, but yeah, if people start to play Vambrace Flamethrower, maybe they could start playing Vambrace after this little bit of a Townhall, but yeah, that was our main concern, and that's why we kinda always have to play around this card, and we are very happy to see any Jango exhausting resources before flipping, so that we are sure that we won't see a Vambrace in the game, or at least on the flip turn.
Just a heated discussion on whether what the value of TDR is in this matchup. That's all you're missing.
Yeah, TDR is kinda unique in this matchup because it's not only a reach. It's also a toolbox. It can do a lot of stuff. It can bring units, and the thing is, even if you bounce the unit, they come back later. Especially if they have a when played effect, you still will be disrupt if they have a Jango alive or a Jango as a leader. So yeah, Triple Dark Raid is really good because it breaks the symmetry. I often talk about any kind of matchup being a race, and in a race you can do two things: you can slow down your opponent, or you can be faster. And Triple Dark Raid, like Cunning, does both. It makes you ahead, makes your clock faster, and slow down your opponent. So yeah, it's a really key card.
And I think something really interesting about this matchup is like I know we've done a lot of Jango testing over the set, and discard strategies have seemed really good, but just the way Han Yellow functions, the Netherlands is absolutely in their favor. Actually, it sounds weird, but like you don't actually answer Ruthless Raider very well. Like once they develop 1, 2, you know, your best play is Envy's Nest. You know.
Yeah, but Envy's Nest is assuming that your flip turn goes well.
You have to run it. Yeah, there's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs there. But yeah. So I think most of the times I lose this matchup is like I see a nice shiny discard line, like ooh, I could do my Spark Bodhi Kira thing and like feel real good about myself. And then you're like, oh, I dealt no damage, I died. that's how that story ends. So
So I think if you see like 2 Spark, 1 Bodhi, stuff like this, you definitely take the line of play all the discard. You will win. Like Jango is like really bad against discard.
There's a critical mass, right? I think the decks are more. I think the decks now are more resilient to that because, like, I think early set 3, like a lot of the decks, like they top decked horribly. Like there was a lot of the 3/1s, ISBs. There was a lot of cards that needed synergy in that deck. And I think with like on the doorstep, Geonosis Patrol Fighter, like they're more comfortable just playing on rate as the game goes on, as opposed to just like swimming out a bunch of dudes. But again, there's still variety in Jango decks, so but we all know they're trying to do the TDR Ruthless Raider and play Ruthless Raider 4 times in a game, you know. That's what they all want to be doing. So that's what you have to plan around, not
if you want to play the race, I mean, the second Ruthless Raiders they will play will not be impactful.
I mean, it still represents 2 damage to base and exhausting probably 3 to 4 damage. Like, it's not bad.
Yeah, but the game will be like so much close to finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Close.
Also, some general heuristic we wanted to add about Triple Dark Raid. We see mostly the same error, and that's what something Junior pointed out. We do not always want to get rid of the Triple Dark Raid targets, but mostly get rid of the other units, because once the turn is finished, they are clean on the board. They don't have any units, and even if we took a bit of damage, that's okay.
Yeah, so the line is to ramp into Conchna Bouncer, but not to bounce the Restless Raider or the Fire Spray, but like the unit that the other unit, like this, they have no board after it, and that's really good for us.
Yeah, Zori-Bliss. The Zori-Bliss, while being 4/7 and being hard to get rid of in this matchup, won't see anything relevant, and we don't want to play 5 drops that don't have any immediate impact on the game. While Cantina Bouncer is okay, and Plo Koon is okay-ish in some situation, especially if the Jango had the marvelous idea to trade into our units, we can ambush a Plo Koon. So it's understandable, but yeah, Zori-Bliss doesn't do a lot, at least from my experience, and the Jango has too many options.
Come talk, Yodakiller, again. He's good with every deck. Thank you.
All right, I'm here. Yeah, I've been a very big fan of these SIPs version, and I think going wide and playing on the doorstep and creating those droids. You know, as a Jango player, like you buy a lot of actions because you have just a lot of these little 1/1s, so I can just attack and then force you to act. Have you faced that card yet? And what would be something to counter that?
I haven't, but I think I will try to like Pojiro or Kira. I really don't want this card to be played.
On the step is really annoying because kind of changes the dynamic of the matchup, but not that much, honestly. Just an annoying card, not as annoying as Triple Dark Raid nor Embrace.
I think that's really annoying. That's like really annoying for Anne. I think the list is very good against Anne. So
yeah,
like
yeah, it's even worse. It's even worse. But then again, it's not the worst card in the matchup, but the matchup is very tricky to maneuver. So the mirror, it's kind of the meat of our presentation. It's how we approach the mirror, why we decided to go on the good stuff instead of the rebels, especially because, in the end, we did not see a lot of Quinlan, nor Cad Bane, nor Jango. What was our idea, how we approach the mirror, and how we see 2 kinds of mirrors, and what we had in mind for the side, and how it evolved. Before we begin, does anyone want to share any suggestion, any feeling about the mirror? Because we saw a lot of mirror in the latest event, in the latest PQs. How did you guys play the mirror?
Yeah, we're just talking about ways to play the mirror. I'm gonna shout out my favorite card, Jetpack. So good.
Yeah.
Because like the way to snowball this mirror is to get a 5 health unit. A 5 attack unit with as much health as possible. Whether it's a hot shot blaster on a 3/5, killing your opponent's 3/5, whether it's a jetpack, whether it's whatever you want to do. When you can zone out not only their first play, their next play, and then possibly the play after that, jetpack just snowballs games so hard. Because now you're talking, let's say specifically, like this is like the ultimate throw. If your opponent plays their 3/5, you play a 3/5, and then they do something like attack phase because they want to race and they don't have their blaster, and you have Han ability, jetpack, kill their 3/5. now the next 3/5 they play just dies for free, and then their Han flip is also threatened because you have Hotshot Blaster, or because you've been smuggling and that sort of stuff. Obviously, there's nuance there. They could, if they didn't play anything on turn 2, they could waylay, but then they'd be having to pass to do that, and that's a huge signal. There's a lot of nuance there, but the bottom line is have initiative going into the flip turn is huge, and then get your 5 attack unit online as fast as possible.
Yeah, I want to kind of counterbalance the jetpack play, especially on the situation where your opponent has a 3/5 and you also have a 3/5, and they decide to go face, and you play a jetpack. In this situation, you're kind of open to any kind of bounce effect, and you're much better you're kind of much better playing a natural blaster. I'm okay with jetpack as it being a 4th or 5th copies of natural blaster. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. The action.
Oh, I absolutely understand. Obviously, if I could stack my deck to have Hotshot Blaster in the top 6, 8 cards in my deck every time, I would do that in the mirror. That would be great. But obviously,
You don't do that?
I don't do. That's what I've been doing wrong, Junior. You're right. Obviously,
that's how we choose.
But no. In all seriousness, the attack to base is a huge signal. They don't have their own Hotshot Blaster, and they want to apply pressure, and having the consistency of jetpack allows you to punish that. Obviously, if you hard ability and run face first into a waylay, doesn't feel good. But if you hard ability, they've already attacked and they just pass, it's kind of like a huge red flag, Anyway.
Yeah, so jetpack is also great when you can flip and solo and play it. When you can flip and solo before.
Yeah, because I think the most interesting conversation of this deck, this applies to every single matchup, is how you maneuver the flip turn. Because
bit later, but
I think you could go a million different ways because of how you not only have hand disruption, you know the utility of that, but you also have these big threats. You also have like these matchup defining plays like DJing and stealing a resource, and for me, I'll say I very rarely try and do a flip turn with like a 7 resource play. Obviously, if they try and answer something on the board, like a control deck tries to remove something, as soon as the turn starts, you're just greenlit and you can do that. But it's something I will very rarely play for. I will almost always try and do like Spark or Bodhi into, Hotshot Blaster or into Gamorrean Guard, whatever.
I think also sometimes you have to make some adventure, like when your line is winning. If they have a previous position, you can still take the line, because if they don't, you win. But if they have it, that's not that bad.
So when you're sitting across the table from someone, you can get a lot of reads from their body language. If they're very confident, relaxed, shoulders back, there's signals that like, oh, they have an answer. You can get that read. Obviously, in Han, you also have the read of you're literally ripping apart their hand. You're literally playing Bodhi Rook. You're literally playing Spark and Kira. Obviously, that doesn't stop. If a deck has, I don't know, let's say 6 to 9 answers for your Han flip, they have off the top of my head, I think it's like a 20% chance of drawing of top decking an answer. I'll look it up later. But
what? Can you say it again?
let me do the actual math before I just let's see. If a deck has, let's say there's 9 cards in a deck that answer your Han flip, I think it's a pretty reasonable assumption. Okay, it's 33. So if they have 9 cards in their deck that answer your Han flip, on 4 resources, you looked at their hand and they did not have an answer. You're taking a 33% bet that is a 33% chance that they drew an answer to your Han flip, given those conditions. So, yeah, in that situation, absolutely make them have it. But Also, you can, instead of trying to be greedy and going for the 7 play, you can just save your disruption for the flip turn. And now you've got
but all depends
that.
The main
of
idea is mostly if you have the capacity and if you're in a situation when you can be you can just make the safe play, do the safe play. Don't be risky. Oftentimes you want
no,
to be
it
risky
depends.
when the matchup is not favorable.
No, all depends of like the reward and like what if they have like the reward and the risk, right? If
Oh, for sure,
like
right?
you do,
Like,
yeah,
you know, if your flip turn has, you know, if you land this DJ, you just win the game, right? Like, let's take that
exactly. That's
example,
what I'm
right?
saying.
Like,
You
if
make
that
them have it.
happens, sure, like, but but I would argue more often than not there are lower variance, more consistent lines where you're not just, I hope they don't have an answer for Han, and then I hope they don't have an answer for DJ, and then question mark, win. You know, I think
I mean,
there's
once you drop DJs most of the time, okay, like they can pass. They will not do that.
well, no, I'm in the situation I'm presenting is I will find the flip turn is more often disruption plus
Yeah,
whatever
absolutely.
unit. You know, like I will typically say my disruption for my flip turn instead of trying to go to 7 resources, and I think that's super pertinent in this matchup, because now it's not just disruption as in hand disruption; it's also buffs, because a lot of the time, you know, we mentioned it. I think as you or whatever, someone in chat mentioned that, you know, initiative is like super important in the mirror. Well, you also have to keep in mind Han can keep Han hostage really well because you have things like if you're on the Rebel version, Rogue Operative plus Hotshot Blaster. You have Gamorrean Guard plus Hotshot Blaster. There's a lot of ways to kill Han before he can even attack. Obviously, Plo Koon.
And
Like,
So-
pre-attack plus super strike. Yeah, there are a lot of options to get rid of.
So the way to play it is like if you know you can have the initiative, you want to play like you want to play like a Kira and then claim. But if you know you can't, you try to drop a Gamorrean Guard or ramp into a Zoe Bliss to be able to Hotshot Blaster or and or like keep your surprise strike to kill it. Right. But
yeah, no, keep it. Yeah, if you can't have initiative, because like obviously presenting the threat has its own value, but like you should absolutely be keeping in mind how you're keeping Han hostage. Whether that's sandbagging a surprise strike so you can do a surprise strike with a 3/5 to kill Han, or whatever. Like my whole point was I think it's much more important, especially in the mirror, to not be thinking, how do I get the 7? How do I DJ them? How do I Han unit?
yeah,
Han unit will
definitely.
get its use later. Don't do that on the flip turn. Han units, it's fine. Zoid was whatever.
Yeah.
Think about disruption / buff plus a unit. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what's funny with the it's like if you try to disrupt them, then you don't you are not the one flipping on before, right? So so you can't like be sure they don't have a Hotshot Blaster, or like if they have on before they can, yeah, right?
Oh, so you can never be sure of the Hotshot Blaster. Hotshot Blaster is in the resource room.
Yeah.
You know, that just depends on how well they drew and how much they smuggled and whether they've used their Hotshot Blaster already, right? Because like chances of them trying to set, if they have Hotshot Blaster in this matchup, they've probably already used it. It's really good, really good. I'm just saying, You're stopping their own threatening plays. You're actually just taking cards from their hand if you're discarding with Spark, which, you know, stresses their resources out there. You could be grabbing a cunning. Like there's a lot of ways disruption There's a lot of work on this turn. I don't think it's bad. Heuristic.
So, by the way, I think you already say that you think Spark is bad in the mirror. I think I agree.
I don't think Spark matter. I don't think Spark is. Spark is like, I don't know, on my priority list of things I'm doing in this matchup. It's like hand disruption is like 3rd or 4th place. You know.
No, it's more
So,
you kind of have to play around it and know that your opponent has it, which is more important than just knowing where to play your Spark. Is knowing that your opponent can play a Spark at any time, whether or not it be good.
Mm-hmm.
I
We didn't even talk about. We went an entire mirror match discussion. Didn't talk about Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
What's wrong with us? That card's that's a hot topic.
Yeah, wait. We have prepared.
I think it's bad.
A lot of people think it's bad. Mm-hmm.
Townhall is bad.
Don't spoil the rest of the.
Sorry. Am I spoiling it? Okay. Never mind. Okay. I think it's a fun conversation.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course it is. But I'm trying to keep a structure for the people.
Speaking of fun conversations, this slide right here. Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's all the.
Yeah. Is it the trend you noticed? Is it the trend you noticed?
I was saying, like, obviously, I don't play in the EU, so like, I don't see what's on the ground. But there are definitely very vocal supporters of the Rebel version in the US meta who, champion that deck and that play style, and it does reflect in locals in the US. So I will throw that out there. Go on.
Yeah. From our experience, we don't see a lot of Rebel version, at least in the French and most of the European PQs. We have seen some Rebel cards being played. We have seen some Rogue Operative being played here and there to play around stuff like Rey and Anakin, but yeah, not the card we've seen the most. And it's interesting to see that in the US we have more of this aggro trend. We have a lot of Sabines. We have Quinlan being played with the Rebel package. We have Han Solo being played with the Rebel package. I don't know where it comes from, but it is a trend. And if you play any more PQs, you can expect, especially if you're in Europe, you can expect to not see any Rebel Han Solo, at least from our experience.
So it's funny, I love this because it shows how the Han1 players have evolved. Fleet Lieutenant's not really hip, even in the Rebel versions. It's pretty much just Wing Leader as far as the true synergy, and C-3PO. And then a lot of those players, like Alex Greatest comes to mind, are running Rebel synergies with Liberated Slaves, because Liberated Slaves is bad for the matchups. Do you think it's bad, or?
I think like it's no. I don't think it's optimal to do this because.
I mean, I can talk about how I don't think C-3PO is optimal for days, but I guess the too long. Okay, too long didn't, because I know there's Ian will lambast me in the VOD recording.
It's on the plate. It's on the plate, but
so I love
C-3PO. We can talk about it.
Sure. Oh yeah, he's not here. All right, quick while he's gone. No, I love C-3PO into Rebel cards. It's an incredibly strong line in a lot of different decks. I don't think that's a Han deck. I don't think you're utilizing what Han offers, for a very simple reason. It's not complicated to understand. If on turn 1 you're playing C-3PO, you are playing, frankly, kind of underrate. You're building a value engine. Sure. You're playing 1-4. No one's excited about this stats. Then on turn 2, again, you're not activating Han ability. You're just playing a 3 cost because your deck is built around 3 costs. Okay. Turn 3, you might be using your Han ability to go to 5 resources. But the way most of these decks are built, especially the Rebel versions, they're probably not doing that. So at this point, the only reason the only way you're utilizing your Han leader is on the flip turn, and because you can get the 7 resources. Yeah, it's a wholly uninspiring, I should say, strategy / set of lines. And obviously, it's funny when C3PO does the thing and he draws you like 4 cards, and you get to activate Han, and then you have all the options in the world. So yeah, I think it's more consistent to lean heavier into smuggle. You're digging through your deck at a similar rate.
Yeah,
and
the added problem of C3PO, it would be very good if it had the dimension just draw a card anytime. But once again, we do not have a sufficient amount of free cost unit and free cost power plays. And either we play not the best free cost cards, or we assume that we won't have a 50% chance of hitting with C3PO. And I believe in a competitive setting, being lower than 50% for cards to be good is horrendous.
Well, you could build around that, right? Like,
I've seen the number to 21 out of 50, which would be 42.
That's common. Yeah. So, like, in that frame, C3PO is gonna replace himself more often than not in the first turn, and then from there it's just added card advantage. I just don't think that's a good way to get card advantage. is my fundamental problem with it. I just think the thing I love about Smuggle, and obviously I'm Smuggle's #1 fan, is its card draw that you don't have to pay for until it's the right situation. Like, you have the access to these cards. These cards are quote unquote sitting in your hand, waiting for like hey, I break the game now. This is my Hotshot Blaster, Covert Strength, Jet Pack, all Bazine, all these cards. They say, yeah, you can play me. Yeah. So you'll be a little bit underrated the turn you play it, but because it's the perfect situation, it's not actually underrated. It's actually doing really broken stuff.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I'd prefer that as opposed to like C3PO, where it's like, yeah, cool, you can do the funny and draw like 4 or 5 cards in a game. But also you can go for a C3PO line, and like if you'd hit in a single card draw, that would have won you the game. But instead, you went with the C3PO line, where he gave you 0 card draw, and you lost.
And the issue with Rebel version is like they're not using C3PO draw to like use Han Solo even more, because they play like just free drop. So yeah, I don't think that's good.
Yeah, they are not leveraging the power of Han Solo enough. And what I wanted to say was I like to see this model card with the added text of draws you a card. Just consider them as being in your hand and draw a card every time you play them, as in keeping a card in your hand. Just make you see them differently, and I get why you love smuggling so much.
Yep, and it's a critical mass thing, right? This is why, like, I'm going to lightly touch on this, but like you mentioned that your deck building approach was like put the 100 best cards for a deck in a list and then cut down. I actually think it's much more important to build your ratios with like what you want your deck to do, and then build up. So for example, if you want to incorporate a smuggle engine, like you really want a critical mass of smuggle cards. Like you really want, because the dream is you smuggle a card out of your resource row, and then the top card of your deck is another smuggle card. That's the dream. But that only happens, and you only see that interaction and notice that interaction when you have enough smuggle cards. I have a feeling I'm already. Yeah. Scanning Officer is definitely, if it's real in your meta. Like I will say, I played Palps who run Scanning Officer, and every time that's happened, they played it. I've been like, that's unfortunate. Well, anyway, and then beat them. So, like, I don't think Scanning Officer is a boogeyman.
You see a Palpatine play around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, this was like, 2 weeks ago meta where I can think about that, right? Like, I don't know.
Just play a tech. If you expect a Scanning Officer, just don't have a tech on the board, because if you have the tech, they are guaranteed to hit 3.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit about and good stuff. So it's kind of weird to talk about what are the main card, the card that are most relevant, and the card that are the threats. Well, they are mostly the same if we expect the same deck with the same level of play and the same experience. So we kind of highlighted, of course, having relevant early units that are solid, having the 3/5s being really good. Of course, the 3/5s are ginormous if you have an Archer Blast, because your units favorably trade into your opponents. And that's what we want to do. That's what we want to do, because most of the time, if we want to race, we are getting finished. And I see a lot of Agnello making the mistake of going base early. And even if you don't have the Archer Blast, just go into your opponent's unit. Go into your opponent's unit. You'll find ways to solve the asymmetry later, and you'll get payoffs from slowing down the game. What are you doing on the slide, Junior? And you'll get payoffs from slowing down the game, especially because we played the Enfys Nest, and the Cunnings, and you're just under the threat of being too cocky if you want to rush base early. You don't really have the luxury to do it, unless of course you have to. But yeah.
In this nest, allow you to not be punished, right?
Yeah.
Because if they use Anne, and if they Archer Blaster into my Anne, with their Anne, and I play in this nest, I mean, that's not bad that's not that bad, right? Because I have a 5/1, they have to use to kill one of their unit to kill it. So, and if they surprise strike, that's even better. So I really think this nest is really key in this matchup, without talking of all these 3/5s.
Yeah, I'm spoiling a bit of the conclusion, but both Junior and I think that we could even see Enfys Nest in the main deck, especially if Anselo is so prevalent. Enfys Nest is, for us, really that good. Do you want to talk about the main play lines into the good stuff, Miro?
No, you can do it. You can.
Okay, give me a second. Yeah. Okay, so basically what you want to do most of the time, as I said, is going above, playing safe, and making the trade, and especially on the flip turn. On the early stages of the game, you want to have an outshot on your 3/5 to one-shot the opponent's 3/5, because then you cleared threats, and you also have a threat that just prevent them from playing a Kira or any kind of relevant unit for that matter. You just only have to worry about the Cantina Bouncer, and even then, it's not that bad. You have to play around the Spark turn 1, of course. Even though it's kind of bad to play Spark turn 1 as Anselo, you'll see player do it. Because most of the time you have enough units to play around the Spark, and if Spark just doesn't out the relevant target, then you just won the game on the spot. Spark is mostly for the flip turn, but you see some of it before.
Again, as Giorgio said, always about the critical mass. If you have 3 discards in your hand, if you have 2 Spark and 1 Wooooo, or 3 Spark, you can take the line. That's really good.
Yeah, but it's kind of very situational, because you kind of expect your opponents to have a worse quality of units if you Spark, or having no unit at all. But most of the time they will have a play.
Yeah, but if I Spark it, I can make them Falcon turn 1. That's still okay.
Yeah, it's still okay, but they still play something. They are at least for the time being ahead. But yeah, as we said, in the long run, being the
But
aggro is
I'll do
not
spark
making.
if I have only one spark. If I have like I have to have
Keep the spark.
multiple discard to spark.
So I think Junior's hinting at something that's really important, but it's so discard in this matchup isn't so much card selection because Han has all the card selection in the world. You have smuggle, like you have smuggle, you have tech, you have ways to find these cards. So like you're not really like the spark hitting a specific particular card is not as relevant. You could be hitting an important cunning or a key Han unit, sure, but really you're just saying, if I can lock you out of a good flip turn before you even get the chance to do it, it starts to you start to get some edges there, right? Like, because I mean, this is boring Han math, but like, typically if you Han ability twice and then play a card off of that before your flip turn, on your flip turn, when you use the Han ability, you'll have
You
one
only
card
have
left
one.
in hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you can.
Yeah. This is classic stuff. So typically, Hans will use their hero ability once and then play on curve. Obviously, it's not inherent always true. Like you can be playing, a smuggled DJ or a smuggled jetpack, whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you throw out a bunch of discard, there's a possibility. I think that's super high variance. You're hoping your opponent doesn't have you're hoping your opponent doesn't have a good smuggle, and if they do have a good smuggle to punish you, then like you're so far behind because you spent multiple turns discarding them, and they spent multiple turns developing the board, and like you're not catching that back up.
absolutely, and that's my
My
issue of the discard in the matchup. It can be relevant, of course, but my issue of just playing a spark is that, well, they have multiple ways to just punish you with, well, as you said, any kind of smuggle, and your main concern should be the hand leader, the opposing hand leader. That should be your main concern, not what kind of power plays you will play afterward. Even though hand leader is not the most relevant card post flip turn, the flip turn is extremely important, and just delaying whatever they could play is the most important. And you have multiple ways to do it. Not only having a surprise Orchard Blaster or surprise strike to get rid of it. You can also just buff one of your units with a cunning, even though it is risky. If you see, for example, that they only have one card in hand, you can cunning and buff, which is acceptable in this situation, and then you can prevent them from flipping, and then it's even better for you. But yeah, you can have to get into this rhythm that you want to have initiative coming into the flip turn. You want to have ways to deal with the leader in the absolute most necessity, and you'll see later about what card he has in hand. And yeah, the Sparks of Rebellion are kind of wide in this matchup. Yeah, it's kind of weird to see really where's the timing to play it the most efficiently. Unless you have a
Okay.
fine cost to go, of course.
I think getting caught by Budgie is also quite bad. I think Budgie is not the best card in the matchup. But yeah, it can be bad if they discard cunning. But if I am on, I am not trying to Budgie. I'm trying to play 3-5 because Budgie like get traded by all your opponents. Turn 1, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I listed a little bit of things you shouldn't do in the matchup. Using the buff on cunning if your opponent has cards in hand and you have no information on what they can do. Don't play Falcon turn 1 unless you
have a lot of pump.
And you have a lot of pump. Don't rush the Kira. It's almost always you don't want to rush the Kira a turn early. Most of the time, it's better to Kira because you're missing information, and ramping into Kira turn 2 isn't that great, honestly, because there are a lot of punishes. Because there are kind of this heuristic of what do you name with a Kira? Do you name the power play? Do you name the removal? Oftentimes the power play is also the removal with Cantina Bouncer, for example. Do you name things that aren't in this hand, but you are also considering? So most of the time you want to Kira in the turn that is relevant. Kira in the flip turn is okay, Kira in turn 3 is okay, Kira in turn 2 is not the best.
Yeah, what is great, like, what I like to do with Kira is to try to make them ramp into a 5-drop, like, if they like to name the only player like this, they have to ramp into a 5-drop, and that's great for me.
Yeah, as in you go into the turn 3, you play Kira, and they have a 4-drop, yeah, they have whatever, and you don't name you name the 4-drop so that they are kind of obligated to ramp into the 5-drop. Is what you're saying? Yeah.
What we said, what?
So of course the threat are kind of the same. We could talk a bit about Plukun. Plukun is relevant in this matchup, especially for the one that has the board advantage, and that's why we say that we prefer to go above and just make favorable trade when we can, and not rush. Because if we have the most unit on the board, well, Plukun is just very good, and it's another threat that the opponent cannot really deal with. So yeah, I could have added Plukun and sideboard. That's what we did. You want to introduce the
I will not side out, sorry.
Yeah, but that's what we did. Maybe you have some other conclusion, but that's what we did.
I don't...
The argument was that Zori
No,
doesn't have any
not because like Zori is...
Let me speak. The argument was that Zori doesn't have any immediate impact. Yes, can be smuggled, but doesn't do a lot of stuff. 7 Elf is interesting, but what isn't interesting is the 4th power, which makes Zori a really, really good target for the opposing Cunning. Well, in this matchup, it's really important to maintain the tempo, and if we play a 5-drop, it has to have an impact immediately, and Zori just isn't it. Yeah,
I think right now I would side out all the crafty droid. Yeah. I don't see why I will need only one, and I will also bring in only 2 Enfies, and like this I keep Zori in the main deck.
What is the reasoning with keeping?
Because it's great to ramp into Zori, and it's...
Yeah, but you can get heavily punished, remember.
Oh.
If they play any bounce effect, any cunning, any cantina
bouncer,
you just
when?
At the same turn when you play the Iblis. If you ramp into the Iblis...
No, because they claim, they play units and they claim for the initiative on the flip turn.
Unless they have a cantina bouncer. And...
But no, that's... No, okay.
Hear me out.
But then I don't play Zori because I don't need to, because I have the initiative.
Yeah, but which means you don't... Because if they see you ramp with Anselo on turn 3 to get 5 resources, and they have a cantina bouncer, well, they just don't claim.
What? Okay, so I play Zori when they play the 4-drop for the initiative, and then I play Zori for be able to Ultra Blaster. Or
So Zori is to play the point of Zori for you is to play it on turn 3 with the
but it's still great from Smuggler.
when your opponent has already claimed.
Yeah.
When else in the game is it good?
In a grindy game, I play. I mean, okay. Two
So
entries.
Zori has 7 health, which is extremely important. Post
Yeah,
like 7
also because you can
resources.
play on shot
It does
and solo. Also.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
It doesn't get killed by Han Solo unit. Which there's a weird thing in this matchup where you can end up into the black hole, which is where your opponent has a Han Solo unit, and you're out of like if you bounce it, it doesn't matter. It comes right back with ambush. And if you don't have a way to kill Han Solo, which typically in this deck is if you don't have a board presence, only Han Solo. Obviously, your version could do like Infies plus another unit. That's just not even possible. Never mind. So I thought your version might be different. No, so it's just
you're gonna have to have
Han Solo unit gets you out of the black hole. Zori also gets you out of the black hole, right? Because it's a 7 health unit that you can buff up, put a jetpack, put a blaster, surprise strike, whatever, kill Han, carry on with the rest of the game. I think it's super heads up. I think that adding the 2 spare the target main is a realization of like if you're not in the situation where you have the buffed up 3/5, it's a solid response, right? Specifically, yeah, that's the reason for it, right? I assume it's the same thing with like Sabine, right? Where like if they have the wing leader, having the spare target gives you a more consistent way of answering wing leader and blowing out the game. Because like you can like cross your fingers and hope for a waylay, but it's only 3 cards in your deck. It's not going to happen that much. So yeah, I think it's super telling of your mindset looking at the sideboard guide. Anyway,
I mean,
even though
as a Magic player, we kind of have this heuristic of not siding the same card when we go first, as opposed to when we go second.
No.
Yeah.
You was trying, but there is nothing to do.
Hear me out. The same kind of happens on who gets to play their 3/5 first and Outshot Blaster first. And so,
but we have nothing to side.
What do you mean?
We have nothing to side if we go first or if we don't. Like,
yeah, but
we have nothing.
It came from that. It came from the fact that there are games when just your opponents will have the initiative and just will be ahead because of Outshot Blaster with their 3/5 on your 3/5s, and you just can't do anything just because he has initiative. And Sphere kinda allows you to get back into the game because you would have your 3/5 blown out, yes, but you would bounce there, they would lose the outshot, you'd be even. The board would be even with a spare or waylay on the buffed 3/5.
Yeah, but then if we think about it, you don't side out the L3 because they are great after an Outshot Blaster into your 3/5.
That's exactly what I was. Yeah, I think you're correct on this. Like, I love L3 for reasons I've said a million times as I popped in. But yeah, I think L3 as a response to your opponent killing the 3/5. I think it's really good math. I think it's super obnoxious for Han to deal with.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good side, right?
Yeah, but
Thank you.
these are just Han player discussions. We do this. And I feel like Infies probably win more in this matchup, right? I feel like it's interesting to me. You sideboarded Infies in every single matchup. I'm fascinated. Like, why not just main decking him at this point?
Zori is main deck. Zori is main deck.
No, Infies.
No, Infies Nest. I think I'm pretty sure you've had them in the sideboard guide, sideboarding them in for every single matchup.
Yeah, because
but there are a lot of people who want Infies.
Yeah. But I think I will try it main deck.
Yeah, me as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're at that stage, I'm just saying it's interesting to see the pattern pop up over and over again. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
we expected a lot of matchup that weren't well, because obviously we talked about the mirror and the Tarkington decks, and well, Fizz is very good into those decks, but obviously there are a lot of decks into the meta, which is really cool. And Business isn't the best against a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say I mentioned the Han Solo unit Black Hole earlier, and it's interesting that you're like doubling down on that, right? Because like Infi's is like a miniature black. You know, if Han Solo's the Black Hole, Infi's is like a little what's a Star Wars term? I don't know. Wormhole. I don't know. Anyway, that's not no. But you'd stuck because Infi's can easily 3-for-1 in this matchup, and bounce only plays into what Infi's wants to do already. So it is a very cool approach to the matchup.
And
I think that
you
needs to
are
be
not
pointed out.
getting punished by your opponent.
By bounce.
Like,
Yeah, bounce doesn't hurt you at all. Yeah.
yeah, and like for me, the big point is like if they surprise strike, procon my on, or like do stuff like this, and Fizz like get me back on the game. So I really like that.
Yeah, and Fizz is really broken into those kind of situations. Yeah. Especially if we expect any kind of Plo-Koon, then yeah. Okay, do we talk about the Rebel version? I don't know. I don't know what I wrote. Yeah.
No, I am trying.
What does it
to
run?
do the good side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, don't do the sideboard of the Rebel version.
No, I'm not talking about the sideboard. I'm just talking about the list in general of what can we expect from
Okay.
we call for about an hour Rebel version without even introducing it. So what changes? So we lost the L337, we lost the Liberated Slaves, we lost the Zori, and I think that's about it. Yeah, and then of course the sideboard is way different, and also they play. No, I'm sorry, that's the junior list. But yeah, I believe Lego Pizza also plays a lot of 2-offs, which I'm not really a fan of. Basically, what changes also is that now your early plays are also, as I said earlier, enablers of your strategy, and make, of course, your wing leader very, very good if your turn 1 survives. But if your turn 1 doesn't survive, you're kind of left with a very awkward turn 2. And then again, you have to maintain a certain number of free-cost units, which is great for the first turn of the game, but not that good for the later stages and just following into turn 4, into turn 5. Yeah.
I mean, as far as the pros of this list, like the theoretical card advantage of C3PO is massive. Like if he can stick and you're presenting threats, like that could do some crazy stuff. Wing Leader is another copy of in this list 2 copies of Hotshot Blaster. I'm fairly certain more recent lists are down on Fleet Lieutenant, up on Hotshot Blaster and Wing Leader, but
yeah, that was like I made this list really early in this.
Yeah. I think this was. I think I remember this exact period. But the fundamentals are still there. But yeah, the main reason to go Rebel is you can snowball off of Wing Leader. You know, you're running Rogue Operatives instead of Gamorrean Guards, which come out earlier and hit for the same amount of damage. You know, from the beginning, like we actually got Ian on the Rebel version at Gen Con, and that was because we realized that Brody Rook was an Imperial, and it curved perfectly with Wing Leader. So Brody. When I say Imperial, shows you how much of a villain player I am. I'm a double agent up here. Just like Bodhi Rook. That's so funny. He's a rebel, so he can get the synergy of Wing Leader and Lieutenant on curve. And Sabbath, and you know, Regard produce good numbers. Anyway,
I believe there are two school of thoughts. Either you can effectively play the best play for the cost you pay, and of course be really well ahead of the game and win races very easily. But you also can get very punished for playing wing leader on C3PO, wing leader on Rogue Cooperative. If your opponent has a waylay or whatever, you're just very very far on tempo. So that's kind of a gambit that I'm not really a fan of this list. Not even talking about other factors such as the Tarkington decks and the Jango being really good into Answer Rebel.
I just want to say you use the word gambit, and I absolutely love that. Especially when talking about the strategy. It is. That's a perfect word for it. Because I think a lot of the times you're going to be rewarded. A lot of the times this is going to feel great. That rogue operative is going to come swinging in for 6 damage and then 4 damage. Your opponent's almost dead. You're like, wow, how this happened? We just started the game. And then your opponent tries to come back and then you just cunning and then their game's over. And you're like, cool, we did the thing. Other times, your opponent's going to look at your rogue operatives, smack them away. You're going to be like, oh, or you're top decking a wing leader and you have the rebels out, and you're like, oh, or you know, you don't draw your cunning. Oh, like I think this deck has a lot more failure points than like the good stuff version. And I think when you're running a strategy that's just like draw cunning, well, guess what? That's not always going to happen. Sometimes your opponents, you know, even if you do draw your cunning. There's a lot of discard hate out there with Quinlans and other Hans and such. Like sometimes you discard that cunning. I get that cunning discard. So yeah, I think leaning super heavily into we just have the broken cunning and the good rebel stuff. We're just gonna race faster. I think it's a gambit like that.
Yeah. Once again, we see the value, but we believe it is a bit too risky. Yes, especially if you want to play at the PQ where you have, I don't know, 10 rounds, 11 rounds. There will be some games where the deck just won't follow.
For sure.
You have a certain number of enablers. Of course, it's not enough. Sometimes you kind of have to play not the best in one in order to still be right. I've seen some game where the Han Solo has to mulligan and still play, I don't know, Fidget on turn 1, which is still okay. It's a 3/3 turn 1 in order to have a good wing leader, but then again, it's not the best play for what the deck could do. So it's either really fast, really broken, and really stupid, or it's a gambit. It's a gambit, and I'm not a fan of a gambit in a competitive environment, but I see the value and I see the vision here. What's your
I think for C3PO is trash.
How did we know we were coming to this?
Okay, next slide.
No, but we don't have enough drops, enough quality turn drop to make C3PO the best, especially in this list. So it's not really even full the sideboard option. We decided to bring 3 Amphies and bring out 2 Gamos and 1 Big Falcon. Of course, Gamo is way less interesting, especially if they have any kind of saboteur. Plus 4 Elf isn't a breakpoint anymore, because we gotta think about Rogue Operative and cards like that. And Big Falcon is just under the threat of being waylaid. Yeah, that's our reasoning. At some point, and I must say, at some point, we also wanted to add the 3 POs, and alongside the 3 POs, the at some point in the past, not anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because the breakpoints aren't the same with the Rebel version and the Gun version. The breakpoints in the Good Stuff version is 5, in Rebels is more more around 3 or 4. We don't see a lot of turn 1 DJ from the Rebel version, even though the version could do it. Even the L337 are good because you can find an Headshot Blaster and then you're really good into the game. And I would agree with you that the L337 is a card you want to have in this matchup alongside the L44 Blaster, because you can prevent their first early play and then have a unit, and they're just really far behind. Do you have a different sideboard? You know.
Okay, so this one is okay, but another one that could be great, that could be, like, I could try is like two big Falcon, and I bring in only 2 Enfies. Like this, I keep the Gamo because it's still great in the mirror.
And do you think the Gamo is still good into the Rebel version?
So I still think Gamo are great because you can play stuff like Ezra, Rogue Operative when 3PO. You can trade up into all of this. So. Yeah, I think Gamo are great. And they still threaten Blaster to kill Han Solo leader, and protect your Han Solo leader from Blaster and Surprise Strike and Plo Koon. So yeah, I like them.
Yeah, you just gotta play around the Rogue Operative. That's all. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, but if they pass with Rogue Operative ready on the flip turn, or like if they keep him ready, I just kill him with my Gamo.
Yeah. Any question in the chat about the mirror while we're still on the mirror? Because obviously it's a very dense topic. We had George talk a lot about very different stuff, very interesting stuff. Yeah. But it would be interesting to have a Rebel aficionados in the call.
Yeah, that was great having George. I don't see any new questions in the chat.
Andrej is playing Rebel, right? You are playing Rebel, Andrej.
Yeah, I see Andrej in the chat. Yeah, but we won't force anyone to participate if they don't want to.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's like any question? Okay.
Okay, so
I mean, the point of this presentation is to convince you to play the good stuff version, but do as you want. If you like the Gambit version of Anne, I mean, you could play Rebel, but yeah, it gets very easily finished. Yeah.
You want to talk, George? You want to come?
But my wife just got home, so I was AFK for a minute there. What's the topic?
Yeah, we're still.
Sorry, just this is Rebels and sideboarding versus them. Like, I obviously you know the signs. If you see C3PO, you see Ezra, you see Rogue Operative. They're leaning that direction. I actually, fun story. When I decided after SCG Con that I was gonna do a whole grinder on Han Yellow, preparing for my PQ. I took down, but I actually started off with a much more Rebels heavy version. It had Rogue Operative, it had Ezra, it had Wing Leader, and or maybe it was like C3PO or Wing Leader. Anyway, to me, like Rogue Operative feels real great until your opponent decides to just attack it, and then you're like, "Oh, this feels bad." Yeah. And then like Ezra feels real great when you top deck something good, and when you don't, you feel bad. So for me, I went for the consistency of the good stuff.
So here is what I am thinking. I think Rogue Operative, the issue with it is like, Han want to play a unit that have a better quality than your opponent, right? For trade up into your opponent's units. But Rogue Operative don't do that, because if your opponent decide to attack into Rogue Operative, then you are not trading up anymore.
Yep. Yeah, 2 damage doesn't do enough. And
Yeah.
that 4 attack feels real good when you're hitting your opponent's face. At 2 damage doesn't feel too good when your opponent just decides to swat yourself away. So yeah, went off of that, and I think with the ratios in my deck, like I'm very comfortable doing a 3 cost on turn 1, 4 cost on turn 4, on turn 2, and then a 4 cost smuggle on turn 3. Whether that's L3, jetpack, or tech, that's a super common play pattern for me, and I think that's one of the reasons I like Han is when you're using the Han ability, like the jump from 2 to 3 and the jump from 3 to 4 are way more than like the jump from like 9 to 10. Just
I think the jump to 3 to 4 is not like, because you
sure. So it lets me play like Game of. Oh, sorry, go on.
You are playing a 3/5 Kira, same stats than your 3 drop, if you are talking of stat, and a Gamma card.
Yeah, or tech, or a L3 that doesn't cost a card because you smuggled it, or a jetpack that didn't cost a card.
Okay, right? I believe you was talking about like 2 ramp turn 2 into a 4 cost.
Yeah, I'm talking about every 4 cost play in the deck. Like, I'm not just ramping to play a 4 cost. Like, I think it's really important when you talk about smuggle cards to think about them from your hand and from the smuggle row.
Yeah.
So something like L3. Actually, I don't think we've gone over this kind of deep dive, and I think it's a super important concept. So when you have tech in your hand and it's turn 2, you should. I'm down to hear a compelling argument. I have yet to hear one. I think 99.9% of the time, you should Han ability and then smuggle it out. Obviously, you could say scanning officer, but if they're scanning officer you on turn 2, they're throwing the game anyway.
No,
you should. The reason you should do that.
37, yeah, of course.
Yeah, the reason you should do that is because if you just play out a hand, you did a thing, whatever. But if you play out of resources, you're actually effectively drawing yourself a card. You're taking a card from the top of your deck, getting you further into your deck to find your DJs, find your hotshot blasters, whatever they are, and then you're choosing the card and you're curating your resource row. And constantly, when you're defeating resources with Han, you should be constantly curating your resource row. You're looking for those things like Surprise Strike to keep in your resource row for late game techs, Waylays to answer big threats in the late game. You're looking for obviously your smuggle cards, but that playline allows you to do that.
And I think you should not have taken your hand on turn 2, by the way.
Oh, sure, okay, sure.
The very beginning, yeah.
Because on turn 2, it costs you the same amount of card to play it from resource or from hand.
Yeah. Yes, that's probably we get that. But
you have more flexibility if you have it in your resource.
And it's protected from. I mean, this depends on the matchup, right? Because are you trying to dodge? Are you trying to dodge a discard? Are you trying to discard a? Are you trying to dodge a scaring officer? Did you draw the tech on? Did you draw the tech on turn 2? Like, did you have 2 cards you wanted to resource that turn? Like, if your turn 2 draw sequence is Hotshot Blaster, tech, like, sure, the tech's gonna end up in your hand, right?
If I see my opponent play a tech from hand, I know they have Hotshot Blaster.
Sure. I mean, that's a bit of an aggressive read, but sure. I'm just saying, like, you shouldn't phrase it as a tech should never be in your hand on turn 2. That's kind of weird. That's all I'm getting at. I think there's situations where it's totally reasonable to have tech in hand on turn 2.
Yeah.
But we're talking. We're missing the forest for the trees. The important part is if you have the ability to smuggle out, especially we're talking Zori Bliss, we're talking tech. use the Han ability, smuggle it out, as opposed to just playing it from hand. Gets you further into your deck and gives you opportunities for card advantage. All right.
Yeah. Especially if you have a critical mass of smuggle, as you said.
No, you have tech. Because you have tech.
Yep, and that's relevant to every version of Han, but it's especially relevant to my version. Also, the
same goes with jetpack.
Yeah, jetpack you can play on turn 2. Very, very commonly. Jetpack on the Gamorrean Guard is super fun. But I was talking about smuggle. Anyway, I'll leave it there before I go off the rails.
Okay, any more question from the chat? I spoiled it.
Yes, Andre has a question. I can read it for you. He says, honestly, the only thing I'm struggling with non-Rebel version is not having enough 3-drops I actually want to play. There were situations when after Mulligan, I did not have that much of a usable hand for first round or second round, and I had to ramp more often with Han. Something that doesn't happen with the Rebel 3-drop variants. With Rebels, Bodhi is great to play. With non-Rebels, I think twice before playing him, so there's only slaves and tech left, or DJ if I'm against Tarkentown.
I think
I would argue that DJ is a very good play into the mirror as a turn 1, because you can't expect to really DJ your opponent at 7, so it's a really good play just as a body in itself. There is a solution could be to bring out Ezra Bridger as kind of the 3/5, but they are 3/4, but they act as 3/5 if you look at any kind of traits, and also you have the 2/2 shielded that are okay-ish into the rebels. But yeah, if you think you don't have enough 3-drops, DJ is a great turn 1, and you can bring Ezra Bridger as additional turn 1.
I think DJ is a great turn 1, period. Like, you shouldn't be looking at him as, I need to DJ scam my opponent in this matchup. The number of things that have to go right for that sequence to play out are like, you're already winning that game. Because you had to like have your Han flip go completely unadulterated. You had to have the attack off, and your opponent had to not have an answer for the DJ after you flipped. Like, the amount of things that for that to land are just astronomical. So you shouldn't be looking at DJ as the combo piece. You should be very happy to play him on turn 1. Like, DJ, liberated slaves are bread and butter. Tech to a lesser extent. Bodhi, yes, it feels better to play him if you have Wing Leader in Rebels. But you're not, like, you're talking about a specific 2-card combo. Like, I mean, Falcon is a super hot topic in this mirror match. It's a totally different topic, but like, I guess we'll talk about it,
like
right?
Yeah, we argue that you shouldn't play Falcon turn 1.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I don't think that's correct. So what are the answers for? So if your opponent has initiative, right, and your opponent plays a 3/5, typical bread and butter play, right? And you have the Falcon, you could initiate the race faster than they can, and you're not playing into them having the Hotshot Blaster.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily what you want to do.
Okay, so Falcon have done 12 damage. No, is that 12 on the flip chart?
What are you referring to? Like,
how many damage have you done until the flip chart?
Oh, how many times has he attacked? Yeah, sure, it's 12. Yeah, he's had 4 turns to just turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. Yeah.
So then you're behind on board, right? I mean, Falcon does not interact with. No, Falcon do not interact with ants. You get what I'm saying, like.
Sure. If you play Falcon and nothing else, you're behind. But if you play Falcon plus keep playing other stuff, you're not inherently behind.
No, yeah, but you're still behind on the ground arena where you need to play for the flip turn. So you're probably
So the question is, do you take the gamble that your opponent doesn't have the hotshot blaster? If they play a 3/5, are you just gonna throw down a 3/5 hoping they don't have it? If you have the alternative play line of Falcon, because there's very few. Because like also, if we're talking about the flip turn, really the best answer for Falcon in this matchup is Big Falcon, and that requires that they kept it in their hand and still have it in their deck. A lot of people are trimming Big Falcon. So like it's not impossible just to say Little Falcon, go to face, do some cutting stuff, win the game.
Yeah.
That's
If
not.
if you have pumps, then it makes sense. Otherwise, don't do it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
using Falcon makes you so too much behind on the flip turn that you can you are not faster after the flip turn most of the time.
I think in general I think most play lines you are correct. I'm just saying I think when Millennium Falcon presents itself, there are a lot of scenarios where it's lower variance. Where I think, let's say you play Falcon, your opponent plays a 3/5, your opponent attacks, and then now you're like, okay, I can play my 3/5 now after he's attacked. Now he's less incentivized to play Hotshot Blaster because he's going to underrate.
Okay, so if I play 3/5, I have 3 damage less than you, right? On the base, if my 3/5 just attacking the base.
Sure. So if Han 1 has initiative, if Han A has initiative, plays a 3/5, and Han B doesn't have initiative, plays Falcon, they are presenting the same attack stat. Yes.
And so you play your Falcon that can interact with ground, which is super important, just to have 3 more damage on my 3/5, so I can be pumped with Hotshot Blaster and interact with your Anselo with Price Track.
It's in this scenario, we're talking about a 3/4 in space that's going to sit there for the majority of the game. Like you're using a Han ability, you're doing all this stuff. Like I'm saying, the blowout potential of you playing a 3/5.
You don't want him turn 1. You want him later in the game, right?
Not inherently. Like I think it's hard. I think it's important to recognize that it's hard for Han to deal with a Millennium Falcon. Like they could waylay it, sure, that's terrible. They can Cantina Bouncer it, sure, that's fine. They can cutting it, also totally fine. It's actually kind of even. They're spending 4 resources and getting 4 damage and bouncing your dude. You can immediately play it back and get 3 damage back in their face. Like the answers Han has are not great, except for Big Falcon.
Okay.
I think
what I'm saying is I think this be able to interact with the board is better than the 3 damage that Falcon is giving you.
I think if you have initiative, obviously, and there's definitely an argument to say, oh, make them have it. But like when your opponent has a 3/5 and has initiative,
no, like, if you have a Crafty Smuggler or a Body Hook, you play the 3/5 every time.
Let me put it in another way.
That's not a question.
Would you accept to lose 3 life in order to have initiative and control of the board? Because at the end of the day, playing Fall Counter 1 is just being ahead of 3 damage and losing the initiative. Would you start the game and accept to start the game by losing 3 life and making sure that you have the board control?
You're saying that you're going to get board control. I'm saying there's a 30% chance you instantly lose the game because your opponent has a Hotshot Blaster. Like,
no,
I'm saying you're... Like, sure. So if they do 3/5, if they have initiative, they have 3/5. They have the Hotshot Blaster. They blow out your 3/5. You don't instantly have board control in this scenario. Like, sure, you could play Bodhi Rook or you could play Crafty Smuggler to then fight back. I'm not saying these are wrong.
Bodhi Rook is really good. If you have a 3/5 and your opponent's as well as a 3/5, and they play Orchard Blaster to kill yours, and if you have and then you play a Body Rock, you're really good. You kinda evened out the situation. Assuming you hit a target.
Assuming you hit, sure.
Yeah, that's an interesting playline. Yeah.
Like, it obviously depends like what you draw, because like you're not always gonna have you're not always gonna have Liberated Slaves or DJ, right? So like, it's obviously preferable to get to. I guess I've said it a million times. If you can get the 5 attack unit established with as little damage as possible, you're feeling really good. If you can set up the black hole, you're feeling really good. I'm saying don't discount Falcon. Maybe turn one's a little aggressive. Like that might be too far.
So your idea is to play Falcon to be sure that they don't have for like dodge the blaster that they might not have.
Let's have a concrete example, right? Let's say you MoG in your hand, and your turn 1 plays are Falcon and Tech. Not feeling great about it, right? But that's what you got. Like, are you playing Tech to try and...
First question, do you have the initiative?
They have no. In all of these scenarios, they have initiative.
They have initiative. And so, the two...
If you have William or Falcon, I play Falcon. Right? But that's just like... I think Falcon is not good turn 1.
Yeah.
I think it enables a racing playstyle it's really hard to respond to. I think it's going to get to a decent amount.
For making good, you have to draw like a critical mass of
a cunning, like the normal race tools.
No, you need more than a cunning. You need like a cunning and a surprise strike, or stuff like this. Yeah.
Yeah. The normal race tool. Like if you go for an early Falcon, you are buying into a race play style. If your hand dictates that, I don't think that's a bad strategy. Just obviously it's not number 1. We're like super in the weeds here, but like we're talking scenarios that are making the best of a bad situation if you don't have initiative. But I think it's important to not. I don't think Millennium Falcons is like a card you row. I think it's a very. I think the Millennium Falcon is an out to a lot of games, and I think an early Falcon makes it so you're not going to get blown out in a lot of games. Where
okay, what I'm saying is, if you have a 3/5 and they have initiative and they play 3/5, and you have Falcon, I play the 3/5 because first of all, I might be able to like kill the hotshot 3/5 that they play if they play hotshot, but they also might not have hotshot, right?
Yep, that's 60%. By that point in the game, you're talking. They have a 37% chance of having the hot shot, right? Do you want to take that bet? Like maybe you have your hot shot and you're confident that like if they don't have it, I'm going to blow them out. Cool, awesome.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Sure. And you're confident in that. Roll with it. But in the scenario where, well, you don't have it, and if you do develop the 3/5, there's a decent chance that they just run you over. Maybe the Falcon has some play there. Yeah.
Yeah, but what if you play any kind of units and they do indeed have the Orchard Blaster and you waylay the buffed unit? How good are you?
You're just even, right?
No, you're not even.
Oh no, you're actually behind because you yeah.
No, 2.
1.
No, it is 2 because they killed a unit and you played a card from hand and they smuggled and you got them the card back. Yeah.
Well, okay,
so yeah, one of the outs there is actually terrible for you. Like.
Yeah.
I think the out is to play another 3/5. Like that's like 1 card behind. Yeah, that's only 1.
like the dream would be you have like Elfie or something, right? Like that's probably the best math. Yeah, that's like sure. As far as like recovery,
even L3 is better for us.
because like L3 can live from killing the 3/5, and then it can like also kill the Morian Guard or something, or a Rogue Operative, or just be annoying. Or Dirtle. That's an option.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
By the way, the slide's correct. The situation we're talking about with Falcon is super niche. And I don't think it's bad, but it is niche. Anyway.
Are we on the conclusion of the board? Are you guys agreeing on what is on the slide?
I mean the first bullet point is the most correct. What else we have here? Prioritize board control. Play after. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The third point in the context of the conversation. Yeah, makes sense. But
yeah, of course we could talk
Okay.
about
We can
the
talk
matchups.
about
I believe
now.
it is enough. Yeah, it is enough about Anselo unless there are any more questions in the chat. I see one question, but you can keep attacking with Falcon on turn 2 after playing the 3/5 and then claim, and then you have the blaster opportunity. Yeah, that's right. But that's one again very niche. Okay, we didn't have much time to prepare the slide, but we have a lot of notes on both Anakin and Sabine ECL. So do you want me to go ahead and go on the
G Faye.
Okay.
She's here. She's very good at it.
So maybe it would be interesting to have him once we
definitely
we are total strategy. Yeah. So our main game plan against Anakin for us is to early trade. Why? Because we want to render his ability useless. Anakin gets his own fairness by just being able to uptrade into whatever we play. Thus, his best player against us is Sabine, the Sabine unit, because Sabine is 3 damage plus 2 equals 5. So his best play is Sabine against us. So what we want to do against an Anakin player is, as much as possible, trade into his units. Trade into his units, be the control. Be the control not only on the board but also with waylay type of effect with Cantina Bouncer, and just slow him down. He doesn't have that many answers late game. Of course, he has the Lukes and Obi-Wans, but other than that, he doesn't have that many. And also, if possible, kill Anakin on sight. Because once he gets equipped with a Saber, we don't have many exhaust effect, and Anakin hitting for 13 or something is just horrendous. Okay, another heuristic is, of course, to prioritize DJ. DJ is really important as against any 6 deploy leader. Because, you just can play your game however you want, but Anakin kind of has to live under the threat that at the flip turn you can threaten a DJ, and they 100% have to deal with it however they can. It's a life or death situation, and you can play around that. You can play around the fact that they have to pass, they have to keep a takedown in order to not get DJ'd. And yeah, if you can play around that, you're really good into the game. What you want into Anakin is a lot of waylay effect. You want a lot of way to punish their early presence. I've seen a lot of Anakin playing the Jedi lightsaber on their early units. That's bread and butter for you. The things you have to watch out for are Sabine turn 1, Kashan under as well. Remember that Kashan can favorably trade into anything and survive. And that's really annoying for us. The worst opening Anakin could do against us is Sabine into Kashan. And Kashan can also kill the DJ. So even if you see that the board is clear and they don't have many cards in hand, Anakin could still at any point smuggle out a Kashan Under and prevent us from DJing. So while we have to play around the fact that we have DJ and threaten them with DJ psychologically, it doesn't mean we have to rush DJ at each and every game.
I definitely need them for GG in this matchup.
Yeah. What you have to watch out for is not only the trade on the board, is also the discard and the perilous position. You always have to play on the perilous position. And once the leader gets flipped, play around the buff, and not only the buff, but also the sentinels, which makes it really awkward sometimes for us.
So what I do
go ahead.
Is I try to have support, to make support really clear before the flip. Like I most of the time bounce their 4-drop, because only the 4-drop can kill my answer leader with Anakin ability. You will need to do this and try to DG on the flip turn, or play tech. Tech is really great because most of the time you will probably have a surprise strike in your resource or stuff like this, so you can play tech and threaten surprise strike next turn.
Yeah. Looking at the little opportunities we have into this matchup, the goated card into Anakin is Zoe Bliss. It's very, very hard for Anakin to deal with Zoe Bliss. Assuming you have board control, you're very good if you get to play Zoe Bliss. Cunning is extremely good. Not only because it bounces the Obi-Wan Kenobi. It allows you to get a lot of tempo. You can get the final damage, but that goes without saying. And the cards you should watch out for are the Village People, Force Throw, Pillages. But as we said in the very beginning of the presentation, you can play around Pillages most of the time. And Bravado and Sabers. And remember that Bravado doesn't only the opponent can also play Bravado on any other units, not only on their leader. So don't feel safe if Anakin is dead. They still have some ways to get some additional reach out of nowhere. Do you want to continue, Julien? No, okay. One thing
I'll just throw in Kira is super good in this matchup because like their answers for stuff are super linear. Like their answer to the Han flip is perilous position. You can just call that when you don't see a perilous position, stop them from top decking it. You know, assuming you Kira early or whatever, and then ride that all the way to your flip turn. Obviously,
Village Protector and
yeah, like they're forced throw if they're trying to take like a weird like Yoda in the forced throw on turn on the 40 source turn. You can block that off. It's an interesting dance of hand disruption, but like DJ, like if you can just do the DJ thing, like cool. You get far enough ahead that you're feeling really great, but like all the non-DJ games get a lot more interesting. Anyway,
to come back on what I said on Sabine being the most annoying turn one for Han Solo, you have a very clean answer, which is Body Rook, which is almost always guaranteed to hit something and prevent Anakin from doing a favorable trade, since you most likely hit something in the end. So yeah, if you see a Sabine and you have a Body Rook, it is the correct play. Most of the time they won't play in space because they have to respect the Millennium Falcon. But even if they don't play in space, don't resource your Falcon, because you gotta respect the not only the Anakin but also the Red 3, which could break a little bit of the mat, because because the breakpoints are not the same anymore, and then the free cost can hit for enough to get rid of 6 cost units. So yeah, watch out for the red 3, watch out for the perilous position, and yeah, that's kinda it. Do you want to add something else?
I think this version is not running a lot of removal, but the other version that see play are running more removal and create dragon, I believe, in the main deck.
Yeah. He's muted. Is DeFi still in the chat? Yeah. DeFi, if you want to intervene on what will be said just after you can do, feel free.
There it is.
He's raising his hand.
He put a request in.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome.
Right, you're in.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
Feel free to share your opinion and your feeling on the Anakin, on the Han Solo matchup as Anakin. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
What are you fearing? What you feel at the best play?
What I fear the most is DJ, of course, because if you can land it and I don't have answer, like I basically lost because you will be ahead in resource, and I can't deploy Anakin, so like I will be too much late. And at the beginning of the game, regional is really important. Like if I have something to protect in my hand, I will always name Body Rook. And if you had the initiative and you started to ramp, and like I can land it here, and you don't have anything else than Body Rook, it's good. And otherwise, if I don't have a mandatory event or upgrade, I resource them. So you can't hit them with Body Rook. And then the best play, like you said, is Sabine, because she can kill any unit you will play. Then on the matchup, Cassian is really good because you have a lot of 5 health units, so he can kill everything.
Yeah.
Then Village Protector are very, very, very good. Like it buy a lot of time, and you can't really bounce it because they are cheap to play. So it's great. One of the big victory condition is if I can land a lightsaber on Anakin, like if I'm able to do that, like I'm really good in the game. And also, like I said, DJ with I can allow myself to take DJ and can have an answer. So I like to play for K9 or K2 on my 4 resource turn, and you already spend your resources. That way you will have to spend resource on your flip turn, and you won't be able to GG me.
How do you like the flip turn to go for you? What's the ideal turn 4?
The ideal if I have a perilous position in my hand, of course.
Okay.
But with Kira and Body Rook, it's not always doable.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ideal is of course Perius position, and also like it's the same for you, but I will need to have the board control. Like even if I'm really good in the game, I will just kill everything on site, because I don't know, with cunning or anything, you can always come back. And yeah, Yoda is pretty bad because he can kill 5 health units. And
so try to avoid playing Yoda as much as possible. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe a last question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how favored do you feel you are against Han Solo? With your experience and what you learn.
Yeah, I mean, if the Han Solo knows the matchup, like Yukunu or other players, I think I'm a bit. Han is a bit favored. Like, yeah, I think he's a bit favored because if he plays around the bounces and everything, it can be hard. And yeah, I really need to protect Anakin and Flip. I forgot to say, but I can't, like, a surprise strike will kill me with Han Solo or everything. So if the perfect turn is like on 6 resource is Village Protector, and I deploy safely Anakin and lightsaber. This is the perfect play, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at your sideboard. What's your general strategy again against Han Solo? What are the things you want to bring in? I'm guessing the takedown at least.
Yeah, of course. Then the Razor Crest.
Okay.
And Pillage is not useful in every game, but I can bring it in, and I remove the restored arc, like they are really useless.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, the crate, the power are not really useful because with all the bounces you have, I can, like, he has no value. I will just lose my fair versus turn. Like.
By the way, I have a question. If you play Pro and I play GG from resource on my flip turn, are you happy?
No.
Okay.
Because unless you have nothing in hand, like maybe I can came back from it, but yeah.
Yeah, most of the time you want to still be on 6 resource at that turn 5 in order to deploy Anakin and balance out the game. Yeah.
Yeah, and one big risk with Poor also is it's possible you have a Han Solo unit in hand, or like this will be the final stand.
Devastating, of course.
Yeah.
Well then, thank you for your intervention. If
Sure.
anyone has any question to ask, feel free in the chat while we still have the FA. You have a question. Concordon really makes going space hard as well. What are your thoughts on Concordon in the matchup?
It's more for the late game. Like, I think I will resources in the early game, but if I draw it around the 6 resources, I will keep it because it's the time when Han will I think put a lot of damage in my base, and if he begin to put either Falcon in the space arena, it will be like this can buy me a turn, so it's very useful. But I usually don't keep it in the all again, but I can be happy if I draw it like around after the 6 resource turn.
Okay, thank you. Any more question? Okay. Then I think we're good. Thank you for your intervention, DFA.
Thank you.
Yeah,
GG
sure.
as well for your performances in the PQs.
Thanks.
Gotta underline that. I believe you are 2 times winner and finalist.
One time.
One time winner and finalist in the last PQ in Paris against
against yeah.
You can find the very interesting finals which has been streamed on YouTube. DFA against Yukino Junior. It's a very interesting game to watch. If you want to get a bit of the keys on the matchup. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Shall we go to Sabine? And that's great.
Frank, it's your moment.
I'm here.
We have Frank in the chat.
Hello. Bonjour, ça va?
Ça va très bien.
Bon. All right. I mean, if someone else wants to talk about Sabine, they can. I know a little bit about it.
You picked up the cards once or twice.
Yeah. Oh, this is my list from last week. Let me see what the changes are.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's very close.
Yeah, he changed it.
Not much. No, this is very close. The only thing I did different is, let me look at my list. I think I put 1 Daring Raid in the sideboard. For what though?
Okay.
Yeah, I had 1 Daring Raid in the sideboard, and I had. This is when I made the change with General's Blade. I brought in a Bright Hope for a Daring Raid main, and then I've since gone to 3 General's Blades and only 2 Dark Sabers. I think 5 upgrades is correct, but the General Blades are much better than the Dark Sabers. Much better.
General's Blade is wonderful, especially on your turn 1. You have a 6/6 turn 1. It's basically game over for a lot of decks. Yeah.
But
absolutely agree.
You talk, I'll wait. You talk about it, and then you ask at the end of the Sabine perspective. So I'll wait and do my perspective after you've done yours.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting the Sabine matchups because I see a lot of people playing it wrong, playing it as on the surface what would be correct, which is you are the aggro and pushing as much as possible and punishing Han Solo with an ECL PO or Wrecker. But what we have found in our testing with Yukino is that Sabine is well favored if Sabine plays the control. For example, if Sabine starts with a Sabine unit and Han Solo goes with a 3/5 unit, then Sabine can just claim and play Fleet Lieutenant and suicide the Sabine into the 3/5s and still has a Fleet Lieutenant. And basically just snowball the game from there. And I believe that's why you brought in an Aroc Sacrifice. And I have 2 or 3 in my sideboard as well for this for this matchup. But yeah, it could be counterintuitive because most of the time when Sabine decides to rush, Han Solo has too many tools of tempo to just prevent Sabine from rushing. You can waylay the buffed Battlefield Marine or the via General Blade or Winged Eater. You can Outshot Blaster, buffed Sabine. You can play a Plo Koon if you have a board. You can play a Plo Koon, get rid of the Sabine, get rid of whatever units on the board. You can play Corsia bounce back the K2SO. So and Solo kinda thrives where he has units on the board and just kinda gets to a point where he just has too many units and Sabine just doesn't have any board presence, and his only plays is to ECL a bow or something. But
wait.
Let me speak. Once again, that was at what Sabine shouldn't do. Because at this point, Sabine is the Sabine player is limiting his out, and as an Anselo player, you are very confident into such strategies.
No.
But then again, why I wanted to start with how Sabine wants to approach the matchup makes us see the matchup a bit differently. So we gotta consider kind of Sabine as an Anakin, as in they will play early units and they will want to suicide their early unit to make trades and still keep units on the board. And it makes all that very interesting. Of course, you have the general heuristics of Sabine. If Sabine plays an A-Wing, of course, you play a Falcon and then you're well in the game. But from our testing with Junior, we believe that against Sabine, Anselo has to be the aggro. Do you want to say anything, Junior?
Yeah, you need to really gun for line like Falcon, turn 1, have a 3-5. You need to be careful on the filter of Sabine. Falcon turn 1 is great, because like you will most of the time win if you have a Falcon turn 1 they don't have a bright up.
Absolutely.
And what you need to do is like have the Kira or the Bridge Hook on the flip turn of Sabine to for Darksaber. You also need to be careful with your card in hand because of BIATL. You also need to have Disrupt for Pro. You need to draw your cunning.
That's right. Draw your cunning, guys.
You really need to aggro them down. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
and also, okay, I have another one. Also, if if you're playing a value game, a game where you trade a lot in the game, try to keep your hand in hand, because then if they use ECL early, you can like kill their pool. If you can like put an 7-drop on the board, they can't answer an 7-drop without ECL.
Yeah.
Unless they have timely intervention.
You're absolutely correct on this one, yeah. And it makes the dynamic of the matchup very interesting. Either the Sabine player has a really good hand and goes to face. That would include a 3-5 for 3 like Cashin and Door, for example, and good ECL target. Or the Sabine player decides to go full on control, and that's really not the same matchup anymore. Because if the Sabine player decides to go full on control, you still have to maintain ball presence, and you might not have enough resources or the best card to answer the Sabine flip, and then you can get really punished by a Sabine plus Blade or Sabine plus Darksaber. Yeah. Do you want to add anything else? I don't think we wrote anything else. Maybe the sideboard plan? Junior?
No, we just bring in the Ezra.
Yeah. We have 3 Ezra Bridger in the side, and once again we want to work on the math and the consistency. And Ezra Bridger is virtually another 3-5 for 3, and doesn't. And I won't say trade favorably, but as opposed to a rogue operative or something, can get rid of the little turn 1 units of Sabine. So yeah, even though we want to race, we don't want the rogue operative. We mostly want Ezra Bridger, and if Ezra Bridger doesn't get answered by a filtered now, we are very good in the game, I believe.
Frank.
We.
Yeah, just before Frank. So yeah, we bring in the Ezra Bridger and we bring out the crafted raids, the L337.
Yeah.
Let's hear Frank.
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna teach from the Han perspective of how to beat Sabine. So it's incredibly important for Han to kill the first unit that Sabine plays. After the first unit dies, it's incredibly important for Han to do all the rest of their damage to the Sabine base. So the recipe is kill the first unit, and then you turn to putting all of the damage on the base. And here's why. With the first unit dead, Sabine cannot upgrade that first unit. The plan Sabine wants to have is to play like an A-Wing and then play a Fleet Lieutenant or a Wing Leader, put some experience tokens on it, or a ground unit and do the same thing. One reason that I've gone to 3 General's Blades is it gives me even another way that I can upgrade my first unit to beat Han. Because from Sabine's perspective, the strategy is to play control. You cannot kill their base. You have to kill every unit. Han is too fast for Sabine. Too fast. The Cunnings, of course, the blasters, the surprise strikes. There's no race. You're never going to race Sabine is never going to race Han and win unless it's a crazy draw where you don't see any of your pump spells and Sabine draws, I don't know, Darksaber with 2 Rebel Assaults. I don't know. It's something like that. Maybe they could outrace, but it's going to be a very, very low chance of Sabine outracing. So what is Sabine having to do? Sabine has to kill the Han units because the Han units is how you carry the upgrades. If you have no units on the board, why do you care if you have Surprise Strike? You can't cunning. If you cunning and you do like tap bounce because you have no units to give +4, then Sabine is going to win eventually in that game. And so if you as Han, if you kill the first unit, then you are removing Sabine's ability to fight you for the board control. So everyone knows, Falcon is such a good first turn play. It's so good against Sabine. It is, but maybe not for the reason you think. It's good because you get to, of course, kill an A-Wing if they're dumb enough to play an A-Wing. I mean, sometimes I say dumb, but it's you mulligan and all you have is an A-Wing. You have to play it and you have to cry about your deck letting you down with draws when they play the Falcon. But
True.
The real discussion needs to be, if they don't play an A-Wing, let's say I start as a Sabine with a Battlefield Marine on the ground, should you still play the Falcon? Or do you play a 3-5 unit on the ground? That's the real question I have. There's a theory to me that you do go ahead and play the 3-5 unit on the ground and not the Falcon then. So the reason being is you have to kill the first unit. Even if I upgrade the unit, you still need to kill it. Because an upgraded unit on the ground will be able to control the board so that you'll, against a good Sabine player, you'll never even be able to flip Han because there's going to be something sitting there waiting for a Rebel Assault, Fleet Lieutenant, Heroic Sacrifice. Something is going to be sitting there waiting to kill Han when he flips. I don't know. So yeah, go ahead, George.
I will say that is a great question because it's the exact same question we were talking about for like 15 minutes. We were talking about the Mono Han mirror match.
Mm-hmm.
When if they play the 3-5, do you play Falcon or do you play another 3-5 to contest them? So one of the important things about this matchup is you don't have an answer to Darksaber. Not realistically. You have hand disruption to stop it. And your best hand disruption tools are Bodhi and Kira, which are ground units. So, you're kind of bought into the ground in this matchup, because you don't want to just auto lose to a Darksaber, right? It's pretty easy to stop a Darksaber in this deck, so it's not like it's it's just something you have to do. You'll notice, I even did a cunning discard on 4 resources sometimes to be like.
Yeah, just got doing right.
Yep. Yeah, that happened in the finals. That was sick. Yeah. I do that. I do that to try and snipe. not only snipe the Darksaber, but also kill the Sabine before she can get a Darksaber. Because that's a quick recipe to lose in that matchup.
Was a gambit.
So to me,
yeah, a little bit.
The ideal hand for Han to open with would have a Falcon and a Waylay.
Agreed. But I'd like to bounce back on the first thing you said. You said the Han Solo player wants to get rid of the first unit Sabine's play ASAP. But if Han Solo plays any unit, well, every time Sabine will have the initiative going on turn 2.
Yes, so that's why the Waylay is so good. Because if they
Yeah.
upgrade with a General's Blade or a Wing Leader, then you can bounce the unit and you're fine. You keep going with your Falcon.
So guess what?
Yeah, that's why
we have spare the targets.
Yeah. Spare the targets are good too.
Yeah.
Waylay, spare the
Yeah.
target.
Yeah.
I think that the way the Sabine wins is they put a unit on the ground and then they upgrade it. And they upgrade it and start killing all of your ground units. And then Sabine can build such a big board on the ground, like George said, with the Darksaber, or even a General's Blade on Sabine is good. And then it's going to be very hard for you to keep up with Sabine when they have more units on the ground hitting you, and all you have is one Falcon hitting them in space. Eventually, the numbers are better for Sabine.
What about Field Jet then? Like you start with a Sabine unit, Han Solo plays I don't know, whatever 3/5 unit.
Yeah.
You claim and you play a Field Jet. You go into the 3/5.
Yeah, Sabine does. Yes, I would trade my first unit with your unit. Yes.
Yep.
100%.
If
And there's
those. Yeah, go ahead.
If there is a Sabine that doesn't do that, then you're fine. You're going to win now. If they don't know to do that, you're going to win the game. Because they're going to try to race you, and you're going to be so fast compared to them.
Yeah, and how those Han Solo come back from getting Field Jet down?
Yeah. So that's my
You're
advice.
getting fleet lieutenant? I mean, if you just play another 3/5, you're still on, right? Like you're still value trading them if you need to, but like, and you're holding Sabine hostage.
Do you want to eat sushi?
You didn't do much either.
So the advice for Sabine is to kill all of Han's units, and eventually you will win. And the advice for Han is to kill their first unit Sabine puts down, or waylay it, or like not Cantina Bouncer. That's too far away. I guess in Green Han you could Cantina Bouncer on turn 2. But
no, it costs 7.
Yeah, because it's double yellow.
Oh yeah,
but yeah.
yes you could.
It's a funny jab.
Those are the two lines. It's not really more complicated than that to me. I think one thing you're seeing with the list you're showing the audience right now, this list is called the unhinged list because I'm breaking a lot of Sabine, the 10 Commandments of Sabine, as Buku says. But you'll see that the commandments that I'm beating are helping my matchup against Han, and here's why. Like for example, for a cause I believe in, it's just not good against Han. Like we never win or lose because we have to find 3 more damage somewhere. It's always the board state is always the board state. It's always one action, and I just needed to hit with a unit to win. Does that make sense? Like for a cause is almost never. It can happen, but it's almost never how you beat Han. Does that make sense?
But why is it as one of them? Why just get rid of it or play it in the side? Not even play it in the sideboard.
Yeah, don't worry about my list. Let's just. I'm doing a talk tomorrow on Courtney's Blonde Sabine YouTube channel. I have slides and everything to go through why my list is what my list is. I'm just talking now about some ideas about Han in this list. So the other thing my list is doing, which is very strange to Sabine players, is I do not play any red 3s. Because red 3, of course, is part of the blowout. You play I play a red 3, you play a Falcon, you kill my red 3. That seems very bad for me, right?
Yeah.
So it's a card that's giving you. It's just instead of having the 3, and I went to 3 A-wings by the way. This is 2, but there should be 3 now. But with 3 A-wings, if Sabine plays 3 A-wings and 3 red 3s, you're giving them 6 cards that they have no way to stop if Falcon wants to kill them and trade and live. So it's even weaker. But the other reason too is what does Raid 1 do for Sabine units against Han? All of my units attack for 3. If I give them +1 to attack for 4, why does Han care? All your units have 5 health. What is the +1 from Red 3 doing in the matchup? Nothing, right?
I agree. Yep.
Yeah. So I took all the Red 3s out, and that's another reason I was able to have some success into Han the last 3 weeks. So those are definitely 2 big differences in my list. Not playing 4 cause I believe in, and not playing Red 3. So is one reason that what I'm doing is a little bit better. But that's not what you're going to see. The reason I bring it up is that I want the audience who's trying to learn Han. You're not going to see anyone playing. I mean, I guess they could copy my list now that I won the PQ, but people do that. But
honestly, it could
ahead.
be a trend going forward. It could be really a trend going forward. Like the focus of living is seeing less and less and less value, and as you said, the Red 3 isn't really a breakpoint anymore. So
yeah. So
you could see it going. Yeah.
Right. So, and also that not a lot of them are playing 3 General's Blades. If they play General's Blades, it's usually 2. But General's Blade is wonderful versus Han because I can make my first turn unit. The only way you can kill my first turn unit if I have a General's Blade on it is if you use Surprise Strike. Your blaster no longer kills my first turn unit. You have to use a Surprise Strike to do it, and that's even better for me if you use a. Because that's 6 more damage. That's 6 damage you've had to use that could have been on my base that you had to use to kill my first turn unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I,
How you
yeah, go ahead.
Are you playing General Blade a lot on turn 2? Like to make them have waylay? If they don't, you probably win.
Right. There's again, this is a skill question, or maybe not skill question. This is maybe it is a question of luck. I mean, sometimes you just have to play the cards you have, and if I prefer, yeah, I don't know.
My take on this?
Yeah.
I think Frank's playing into the rogue deck advantage, which I've used a lot of. Like, I don't think people are thinking they're gonna blow the General's Blade on turn 2.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the Han is probably keeping the waylay regardless.
Yeah.
But like, there's absolutely a world where your opponent goes General's Blade on turn 2, and now as a Han player, I'm thinking, oh, I need to stop this Darksaber that's coming because there's a 100% chance it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So like, there's some mind games there that Frank can tap into. Running 6 lightsabers or 5, 6.
But they would think I have 3 Darksabers though, for sure. But I'm
yeah. If you play a General's,
I don't know. It's a good question. That's what I said. The best start for you is just to have a Falcon and a Waylay in your hand. And then I guess the strategy from the Sabine perspective of playing the Blade on turn 2 when you don't know if they have Waylay or not is just if they have it, you lose. If they don't have it, you win. It's almost that simple.
You don't even win the spot.
I'm sorry, what? My headset broke up.
You don't even win on the spot.
Well,
right?
Not on the spot, but it's if you give me a first turn unit with a General's Blade and tell me you're not going to have a Waylay, I will win a lot of those games. I will win a lot of those games. Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you Waylay me, the only thing that's good about the Waylay is that that's one less unit I have to kill, because the Waylay itself was an opportunity for you to play a unit. So even though I lost my Blade and I had a unit put back in my hand, at least you're not developing the board. The Katina Bouncer is much worse for me than Waylay, because with Katina Bouncer, of course, you're putting another unit on the ground that I have to find a way to kill before I. Yeah. You see the difference in Waylay? Well, Waylay's bad, but it's not horrible like some people think it is, because that's all you're going to do that turn is play Waylay. You're not doing anything else. You need units on the board to Surprise Strike, Blaster, and Cunning +4. If you Waylay me, yes, you're definitely hurting me. It's good for you to Waylay me. I'm not saying that. But it's not so bad because you didn't also put one of the units down that I have to find a way to get rid of before you Surprise Strike, Blaster, and Cunning it. Is that okay?
Yeah. So definitely one of you always taking the line of wing leader turn 2, right?
Yeah, I'm always taking the line turn 2 into an upgrade. It's wing leader. I'll fleet lieutenant if I have to kill something. I prefer general's blade, but the only time I might not do that is if my turn 2 would be a Sundari peacekeeper. Those are very, very good for me because it helps give me more time with my 25 life base to get control of the board because it has 5 health. Restore for the blood. If I could put a general's blade on a peacekeeper, I'm very happy. But I can't do that because it's a turn 2 drop. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, peacekeeper turn 1 would be great.
Yeah. So, because the other thing that's so good for me is if you're not good for me that you're again. I want to be clear. Waylaying my unit that just got upgraded is still bad for me. I'm not saying it's not bad for me as a Sabine. It is bad. It's not hopeless though, because again, not only did you not put a unit down, but I still have my ECL. So you're not doing anything on the board that's going to be able to stop my Poe or Wrecker later. Sometimes I have to ECL because you're taking over the board earlier than I want to because I'm dying. All my units are dying, and I have no way to come back. I've had to do that before, and I don't think it's good. I think you have to save your ECL for Poe or Wrecker. And the other card, though, that I think is so important in this matchup is timely intervention. Because if I have a timely intervention and I've been able to control the board, then you'll often see me be able to like Wrecker on 6 resources and then timely intervention Poe the next turn from my hand, or I'll even smuggle it for a K2SO sometimes to stop something. So anyway, so those are the lines. Yeah, is that helpful what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is always interesting to have the opponent's perspective, because I was mainly focused on the field lieutenant line, and I was really into the fact that field lieutenant for me is a key, and I wasn't really keen on putting all your eggs into the same bag with putting a general's blade into marine. But yes, if it's a kind of situation of just make them have it, and if you think that not a lot of people runs waylay effect, then yeah, you're very well ahead. And I agree a lot with your statement.
Yeah, I've often also dirtled by pinging with Sabine to see if Han will put down the 4th resource before I use my upgrades. Because
what about the units? They have a 3/5, but they didn't attack. And you ping.
No, this is usually with the Falcons. Like they start Falcon, I start ground situation where my units say, okay. Of course, if my unit's gonna die, I'm not going to do that. But like you start Falcon, I start Battlefield Marine, I have a General's Blade, then maybe I pass, you attack me with the Falcon, maybe then I ping, then you put a resource down. Now I will upgrade because if you waylay, you've now underused your resources and you wasted your Han. But I don't know why you would even go to 4 there. Why would you even go to 4 to Kira? That early? That's too early for Kira. Is there any reason to go to 4 at that point?
Cameron go out, but not enough.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you would go.
Play tech from resources if they have the DJ deck.
Oh yeah, tech from resources would be cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I want to mention. Like, as long as the Sabine leader.
No. You don't want to play tech. I'm sorry. You don't want to play tech. You gotta respect the wing leader, because if you play tech, you can wing leader the Battlefield Marine. Battlefield Marine it's for 5 and
kills tech.
No, I was saying this for the 4 drop that you can play.
Yeah,
it's horrendous.
No, but this is You're also talking about you guys would not do that. You're too good at players. He's answering my question like. I'm making him say, what would you do for 4 resources? He was not saying that's the right play line. So the point I'm making, though, is sometimes if I know I want to upgrade as a Sabine, I will try to wait until you've used the Han ability on a turn and then use the upgrade. So if you waylay me, you've wasted the fact that you used the Han upgrade, if that makes sense. The Han resource ability.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But that's the lines. Kill the first unit Sabine puts down, and you'll win the game. If you just after that go face, go to the base. The rest is my opinion. Maybe not, but that's my opinion.
You have to respect Darksaber, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just assume that they don't have Darksaber or whatever. But like, yeah.
Yeah.
That plus Darksaber done.
Yeah. Well, I think you can even outrace Darksaber because you have. Are y'all running bamboozles in the main or side?
Side.
No.
Okay.
Like,
Bamboozle's very good against Sabine, so
yeah.
I don't know.
It is very good, but you're also taking a major card advantage hit, which, like, depending on your version, like, I will typically haunt ability more aggressively, where, like, the Rebel version typically won't haunt ability as much, so they'll have more cards for Bamboozle. So, like, there's, like, Bamboozle's not free. It's actually very expensive. It's 2 cards.
Yeah.
So...
What about look the other way?
What does that do?
Would it be good?
It's the one you exhausted if they don't pay 2.
Zero cost, they exhaust unless the opponents pays 2.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it's different, right? Because it doesn't punish them for resources of development, so it's way worse than Bamboozle, right?
Yeah, it is. But...
So, like, I don't. Is there a world where you run both? Like, I mean, I think that's a different strategy entirely.
Yeah.
But I don't think. So, like, would you run the card 0 cost, heal 8 damage? Sure. Does that card win you the game? That's a tough one, because you also have to keep in mind, if you're exhausting it and not actually answering the Darksaber, now your Han flip is hostage. Like, with what they have on the board. Like, Darksaber Sabine just stares there and is like, what's your Han going to do? So, especially if they're already bought and playing control. So, like, I think looking the other way is definitely a trap. But, okay, it's a cool card in different decks, but I don't think it belongs to this deck.
So, one reason I went from 3 sabers down to 2 sabers is that putting the Darksaber on Sabine is not the winning... Is not. I mean, I guess it's good, but in my experience, good Han players will cunning and tap my Sabine with a Darksaber on it, and so at some point, maybe it's on the 5 resource turn, maybe it's on the 6 resource turn. So I haven't seen I might get a hit with it, I might get 2 hits with it. That's 14 damage, but you're on a 30 damage base. So even if I get 2 hits with the saber on your base, how do I get the other 16 damage before you get 25 on my base? Because you've been doing things every turn, and you have cunning and surprise strike and blasters. You see my point?
I mean, you are saying you have to draw cunning, which is like that is a play style you can take. But if you will have plenty of games where you won't have cunning.
Yeah, but you're also saying that Sabine has to draw the Darksaber. But I mean, even in a straight race.
Yes, this is accurate.
So if I hit you 4 times with the Darksaber, you still have 2 life on your base. So there has to be other things happening in the game.
Obviously. Yeah.
But
I mean,
let's just say I have to hit you 3 times with Darksaber.
That's a really weird framing, because you could say that you make the same argument about 25 health base, right? It's only 5 difference. Like, obviously other things are happening in the game.
Yeah. So if I have to hit you 3 times with the Darksaber to beat you, that's going to be resource turn 4, 5, and 6. And that's by 6 resources, which is 7 with the Han ability, or 8 even if you've got a Han attack off. I'm just saying there's a lot you can do in those same turns with what you've done on turn 1 and 2 if the Sabine player's only line has to be Darksaber Sabine because you killed their first turn unit. They didn't have anything to upgrade. I don't know. I think having put the Darksaber on Sabine and lost to Han still, I can tell you it. You still have ways.
Every deck's going to lose a double cunning if you try and race.
No, it doesn't have to be double cunning.
Yep.
I
don't know. We're talking in hypotheticals right now, but
sure.
I think you.
I mean, it's still important to look at the macro of the matchup. I respect Darksaber heavily.
You should.
Maybe that's too cautious. I think it's low variance. Maybe it's whatever.
Well, it's a clock, is what it is.
Because you don't have an actual answer to it. Once it lands, like you're like, okay, I hope I can land a Han unit and then the following turn blaster into it. Like, okay, like that's not a real answer. Like there's no real answer to it. Unless you're sacrificing multiple units, like that's a whole other world of feels bad. Like the out is draw multiple cunnings, like, which I don't consider a real game plan. Like that's why I respect Darksaber heavily.
Well, no, I mean, it's the same. Yeah, you should respect the Darksaber. I didn't want to communicate. It's just what I'm talking about is that to me, there's the clear play line. Han kills my first unit, then you go base. My play line is I kill every one of your units. As soon as you put a unit down, I kill it. I don't give you any units. And eventually I have enough on the board to do one of these 15 to 20 point damage turns. You can watch some of those. Like there's some stream games with me and Alex the Great if you want to watch Friday's SCG Atlanta. In the first round, the Swiss, he beat me, and I was not doing the strategy at all. And then in the top 4, I turned to this strategy where I was just going to kill every unit. I don't care. You put a unit down, I'm going to kill it. And I actually got to win that one. I should have 2-0'd him, but he had one out and he got it. Of course, so that's okay.
There's lots of nuance here, right? Because like they're both very powerful decks with a number of powerful cards that switch the matchup one way or the other. Like Michael took that same strategy in last 2 games in the Kissimmee run. So like they're just important value moments you have to recognize. Does the Darksaber land on Sabine? That's a big swing. How many cunnings is the Han player drawing?
Yes.
How early are they establishing Falcon? Can the Sabine player answer to 3-5 on turn 2? Like these are all moments that have a lot of snowball potential. And in games this fast, that snowball gets going really fast.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So.
No, but these are the lines. They're good, and that's why the game's fun to play. It's not going to be the same every time. And but the point of this town hall, I think, is to talk about kind of the ideal line. What are you trying to do with your deck versus their deck? And I think we've done a good job of talking through. And I think everyone should by now appreciate kind of what are the 2 decks trying to do to each other, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe to get back on a little bit more grounded topic, what's your sideboard plan against? We see the Bright Up in the side. We see the Heroic Sacrifice.
Yeah, definitely. If I was just playing what's in front of me now, the 4 Cause would come out. The 3rd Sundari Peacekeeper would come in. The Heroic Sacrifice would come in and take out the Disabling Fang Fighter. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the Bright Up, for Jango, you had the Bright Up?
No, I don't need Bright Hope against Ton. I know everyone's like, "What? You stopped the Falcon?" Well, maybe.
I don't know. I'm just asking. I agree with you.
I haven't been using Bright Hope against Han. Maybe I do. I don't know. It's not. Bright Hope is not wonderful against Han because it's a 4-drop, which means if you Katina Bouncer it, I've wasted my entire turn doing nothing. My only time I ever need it is if you are going to play a Falcon that you don't have a bounce spell with it. You can even Surprise Strike with your Falcon, kill my Bright Hope, and your Falcon's still alive, because I'm only doing 2 damage back. I'm not a big fan of the Bright Hope. It's mostly in my deck for Jango, but I can't say
But
I've never
if
played.
that... So, like, in that line, you're forcing the Surprise Strike onto a Falcon that's not going base.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely in your game plan of what you're trying to do.
The only
right?
thing though to that, George, is that you've now used all 4 of my resources on turn 3, and the board position. I'm all about what the status of.
Oh, we're talking late game. Oh, this is late game. Oh, you're not playing Bright Hope early. No. That's never the conversation.
No,
the conversation is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also don't think you're playing Surprise Strike super early typically either.
Yeah.
But like, if the Bright Hope has a lot of utility in the fact that like it can sit there and it can stop Big Falcon. It can stop Little Falcon.
Yeah.
If it eats a surprise strike, that's a surprise strike that's not going at your face. That's huge.
It is huge.
So, like, is that worth 4 resources? That's a lot of resources, and I don't know.
For me, it's a lot of resources.
It's a little, so.
Because the other problem with that too is that you said it's not. If I'm not playing it on 4 resources, I'm playing it later. When am I playing it later? I've got to play a Poe. I got to play a Wrecker. I've got other things I've got to do later. Are we on 7 resources now? How did we get to 7 resources? I guess.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
If you're playing control, right? If you're playing control with most of your units, like you can make the game go easily. That's not crazy if you're playing control.
So.
Obviously, if you're losing playing control, sure.
Yeah.
But
there may be a place for Bright Hope. I may sound crazy right now saying I don't usually bring Bright Hopes in. The matchup is. If Han draws their average draw and Sabine draws their average draw, and both pilots are extremely skilled, the matchup is probably 55-45 Han, in my opinion.
Fair.
Yeah, it's fair. It's very even. I agree.
But the only Hans that I've ever lost to are Alexander the Greatest and Junior and Ian in practices. So. All the other Hans I've ever played, I've beaten because I think the pilot skill level. It's honestly it's a little refreshing. I beat one Saturday on my way to win the PQ, and it was very relaxing playing him because it was like, oh, this is so much easier than playing Junior while I was playing it. Does that make sense? What I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Junior has an aura, He's 14, 1-2 PQs.
Oh, that's what I mean. No. That's what I'm saying. When I say it's 55-45 in favor of Han, but that's a pilot of one of your levels. Like, if I play just an average Han player, I think I'm very favored, like 60-40. My favor.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I can still lose when they draw both their cunnings. And I don't see a General's Blade, I can still lose to an average Han player. But
I would add that there are a lot of multiple bad or mid lines that Anne could take, and a lot of good lines that Sabine could take. I don't know if you get what I mean. Like you have a world of possibilities going into turn 3, turn 4, and turn 5, and there are a lot of good choices for Sabine and a lot of extremely bad choices for Anne.
So at this Duluth PQ, I remember a game with a Han that I beat in Swiss where he put down a 3-5 on turn 1. I put down maybe an A-wing. I think we lane dodged. Then I played a 3-5, and he hit my 3-5 with his 3-5. Like, he just did 3 damage to my unit. I don't know why.
Okay.
Right. I'm like, what is happening right now? Why is he doing this? You see my point?
Was it Scandari?
It was a Cassian, but I could see
that's
fine. You want to turn off the store.
In the tournament.
But he didn't use a blaster. He didn't use a jetpack. He didn't use he just did 3 damage to both units for me because I want to kill his unit. I was very happy when Sabine flipped. I actually killed his unit. I finished off the 3-5 like a liberated slaves or something with Sabine's attack. And I was like, oh, this is nice because now I had 2 units on the ground and he didn't have anything. So I don't know. Yeah. My point is that this is still very pilot dependent. These matchups, extremely pilot dependent. You have to know how to play the lines. Okay, well, thank you for my TED Talk.
Thank you for intervention, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, we are coming at maybe some question, and then we'll get to the conclusion.
I'll throw on because I got S in the private message. Shout out to Farrell, good friend of mine. The question was, why is Sabine's first unit so important? And it's important to understand in the context of this matchup that Han will pretty much always have traditionally as a turn 2 play on turn 1. That's why this matchup is so different than most of their Sabine matchups. Most of their Sabine matchups, There's just kind of a not script, whatever. Like this matchup flips what normally is an aggro deck on its head, because you're playing better units early, and you have the big turns of cutting later on. That's why the first unit is so important, and you want to avoid red 3, or you want to avoid Green Squadron A-Wing, which in a lot of matchups is like one of the scariest cards for your opponent to see, because of how much pressure it can put on. You absolutely don't want to play that as Sabine because it instantly gets defeated by a Millennium Falcon, and then you have nothing to buff, nothing to synergize with, and you're just playing stats, and your opponent has board on you. So that's why.
So to complement George's good answer, the Sabine player wants to control the board, and to do that, I need to do 5 damage to your units. The only way I can do 5 damage to your units, if I only have 1 unit, is to upgrade that 1 unit. And now I'm in risk of Katina Bouncer and Waylay and Cunning Tapping and Cunning Bouncing. I mean, there's a lot of things. If I'm having to depend on a 5 attack power unit, it's only because it was buffed. However, I can also piece together. If I get multiple pieces, the Sabine unit, my first turn play, my second turn play, if I've got 3 units on the board, I can use those in conjunction with each other to kill your units. And maybe 2 of mine live and all yours are dead. None of these things are possible if my first unit is dead. I need multiple units to control your board, or I need upgraded units to control your board, and that's why so don't go face until you've killed a Sabine unit. And you'll have much more breathing room, is the expression. You'll have a lot more elbow room. If I don't have units to use to kill your units, then you're going to be able to outrace me from there.
Yeah. Any more questions? That was a very complete answer. Don't control with Mythos game as Quinlan. Okay. Any more question? Any regarding any matchup, any situation before we go on to our conclusion and the end of the presentation?
Yeah, no question? Okay.
Feel free in the
I
chat.
think we can.
I'll take the debate. How do you guys feel about Han Green and Boss Green, all these big dumb ramp decks showing up? Yeah, he gets it.
And we have
Oh,
All right. Don't want to talk about it. All right, that's fair.
No. We can. Yeah, we talk a lot about Boss Green, and I faced 2 Boss Green in my PQ, and it went very very well. I'd say it's very different from what we talk about tonight, and it kind of goes the same way. Well, kind of, but easier than a Boss Blue in some capacity, because you can just very easily strip them of resources. If they don't have any bounty, they just lose all the unfairness of their deck, and they have to play a critical mass of ramp spell, which makes obviously their later draws very bad, very horrendous even. So you can capitalize on the fact that they are mostly looking to have a very linear game plan, and you can sanction them with it. And also you have multiple ways to punish them with a DJ. They don't have a lot of ways to get efficient trade and efficient removal. Okay, one other question. Anwarandix says he finds Spell as a take turn 2 very annoying. I would argue it's not that bad. You can even go as far as playing a cunning, a buffing, and bouncing the the Spell as a take if that's the way. Of course, if you can bounce, but you're trying to maximize the number of bounce. If you can't bounce, well, then it becomes a bit difficult. But in this matchup, yeah, you're trying to. I wouldn't say hard mulligan into bounce, but the bounce spell are very key in the matchup. Yeah.
Interesting.
Another key card. Another key card will be Kira. They don't have many ways to deal with Kira, and you can just sometime time work them. Yeah, boss deploy plus OB feels strong. Yeah, but you have multiple way to punish display.
We have to try and hold the leader hostage like in the number matchups. But like, so my thing with this matchup is like, I've played it earlier in the season. I haven't played it much recently. And it's Boss Blue. It's kind of textbook, right? You rip apart their hand. You do a lot of discards and disruption in the early game, and then you kind of do the whole DJ thing, and then you just outvalue them with everything your deck does. But like, if you're just ripping apart the boss's hand, against Boss Green, like you kind of end up in the same spot where they have the resources, right? So if you're not applying pressure with units and you're just playing like Spark of Rebellion, discard with cutting, whatever, you're not applying pressure, well, they're just taking an extra turn, drawing more cards, and getting a resource anyway, right? So it's weird in my perspective. People have been saying it's a little heavy, it's a little favored for Bosk, which I find fascinating. But like I said, I haven't had a problem with it previously, and it seems like one of the things I have to talk about ramp decks is you have to draw your deck in a very specific order. You want to draw the ramp first, and then you want to draw the big stuff later. And hand disruption kind of makes that even harder for them to pull off. Oftentimes they have that price on their head, and they're going like, "All right, hopefully I can open fire or force choke and kill that thing and get it." But if you Bodhi Rook, get rid of their removal, well, now your price on your head is just chilling. I don't know. Interesting matchup for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Would it be possible to go over the mirror slide for minutes or so again? I had to go for a few minutes. No, I'm sorry. We kind of have to go to the conclusion. It's kind of late for us, and Yukino has to go to bed, and me as well. So everything is recorded. Frank has recorded everything from the beginning. Yeah, we talked a little bit about Hand Green quickly in 30 seconds. The points at the very beginning of the meta, we didn't very consider Hand Green because there weren't a lot of hype around the matchup. And as of right now, your main priority against Hand Green is to prevent them from ramping, and you have a lot of way to exhaust their units. And you'll see that Hand Green, as opposed to Hand Yellow, really relies on their flip turn and really relies on their 7-drop. So if you can just disturb their flip turn, prevent them from deploying or one-shotting their leader, you're very well read. Okay. Do we
Well
go
said.
to the conclusion? Any more quick question? 30 second max. Not something that requires an in-depth 30 minutes TED talk from Frank.
Oh, I guess we can do the conclusion.
So
okay, conclusion post PQ season. Go ahead, Junior.
Oh, what I need to say?
What would you do? What will be your next list? What do you expect for the next PQs next weekend? A little bit of that. After your experience, what will be the card you will change? What were the cards that you found were the most proactive? We talked about Enfys being main. What would be the next step going forward? Can you guys hear me?
yes.
I can hear you. I'm waiting for Junior.
Hey, can you? Okay. Do you hear me?
Oh, there he is.
Yes, we hear you
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so I will try to have a release in the mirror to play the card that has really performed well in the side, to put it in the main, to try them in the main, like in this 6 drop. And I think it's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll chime in. As far as post PQ season, we're talking set 4, right? Like, maybe you're talking about SCG Con Charlotte was the next, whatever event your country, is happening in your country. But Han looking to the future of Han, assuming there's no like DJ ban or Han ban or whatever, which I think it'd be a little extreme, but we'll see what FFG thinks. Bamboozle's in a great spot going into the next set. A lot of these bounce cards are going to be great for answering pilots. We're gonna have Mandalorian unit, which is like basically more copies of Cunning. You want to exhaust 2 things and develop damage? Cool. Play a Mandalorian and play Cunning. So there's a lot of exciting stuff looking to the future of the archetype. Of course, I don't know if you guys know much set 4. There's a lot of crazy stuff. So it's gonna be super fun. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I think the power level rose a little bit, especially on setter card like Blue Leader, I believe it is called. So we'll see a lot of interesting play. We might see a trend of all the yellow folks going to and green once again because of such cards. You can still expect a lot of Han Solo, but yeah, expect people to be prepared against Han Solo. Know the weaknesses of your deck, know your strength, know what are the key cards, what cards you're looking for, what are the winning plays, and then just have fun. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for having listened to us for about
This is
4
wonderful.
hours.
Yay!
It was
Everybody is clapping for you. Very well done.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Thank you, Junior. You did great, as always. Thank you, George.
Sure.
Yep.
All right, I'm leaving. Bye.